This is another Debate Talk for You radio public announcement. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Hey, what's going on? This is Felix, also known as Enoch, student at Absolute Bible Truth, and I'd like to give a big shout out to Sal Showtime and Debate Talk for You. I'm a frequent listener, been listening since season 1. Keep doing your thing, and for everybody out there who can hear this, send in your donations so Debate Talk for You could go on for a long time. Alright, y'all. Peace.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk for You Radio.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another show. You're now listening to Season 9 of Debate Talk for You. This is the season finale of Season 9 of Debate Talk for You. I appreciate everybody that's calling in. I'm your host, Sal Showtime, and we are back. That's right. It's the final show for Season 9 of Debate Talk for You. We had a lot of classic content, a lot of great debates, roundtable discussions. You know how we do it, all the various segments on the program. I'm going to give some early thank yous. I want to say thank you to Anonymous Hebrew, my brother Anonymous Hebrew, who was on the host of the show called The Verdict. You know, he's going to definitely come back on for Season 10, happening in September. That's going on in September, September 23rd. Yep, there we go. All right, I got a message. All right, yeah, so Anonymous Hebrew, Brother B.A., Ashanti, everybody on the team, that's keeping the show together, bringing that host dynamic, element to the program, all the hosts of the shows. We appreciate y'all. Amayan, we appreciate you. And hopefully next season we keep this thing rolling. The summer special, for those who don't know, is going to happen July 22nd. That's July 22nd. It's going to be a 2-week summer special. So make sure you tune into that. Already got a couple things lined up for the summer special. I'm looking for new guests to join the show as well. So if you want to be on the platform, send me an email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. Leave your brief bio, your contact information, and I'll call you, and we'll see if you can come on the program. So once again, send me an email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. Leave a brief bio with your contact information. We're trying to get new special guests on the platform, various special guests. You can be Muslim, whatever, Just let me know where you stand as far as your denomination, and we can get you on the platform. Today's show is entitled Letter of the Law versus Spirit of the Law. However, this is a dialogue, but the title once again, Letter of the Law versus Spirit of the Law. My special guests are now standing by. Everybody is here. Let's introduce the special guests. My first special guest, he hasn't been on in a long time. He's been doing a lot of different things out there, but he made some time to come on the program for the season finale, Debate Talk for You Radio. We appreciate the brother. This is one of the Debate Talk for You vets. He's been here since like season 1 of the program, and as you know, we're season 9 right now. We're going to welcome back Brother Bleedo. Welcome to the show.
Can I be heard?
I mean, you loud and clear. Welcome to the program, brother.
All right. Peace out. Peace to Josh. Appreciate the opportunity to come on here and have this dialogue. Yeah, you're right. I've been MIA for a little bit. I'm kind of don't have the desire to debate anymore. Kind of why I asked for the dialogue and everything. So to those out there, you can find me on Facebook, Bleedo Shumake, and pretty much all I got to say.
Once again, that's Bleedo. I appreciate you coming on for the season finale, my brother. Appreciate you being here. My next special guest, has been on the program frequently since season 1 as well. And, he's representing Absolute Bible Truth. He is here. This is Brother Josh. Welcome to the platform.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Sal. Shabbat Shalom, Debate Talk for You Universe. And most importantly, Shabbat Shalom, Bleedo. I was recently told that your new nickname is the Shoemaker. You follow what I'm saying? I give everybody nicknames, you know what I'm saying, who I'm cool with, but somebody else dropped that on me, and I'm like, yo, that is a dope nickname, the Shoemaker. You know, your name Bleedo Shumake. You know what I'm saying? But I'm happy to be able to come here and do this dialogue with Brother Bleedo. You know, as many people may know, we weren't always, you know, cool, but, you know what I'm saying, thanks to the Most High, you know what I'm saying, we're seeing each other in a better light, you know what I'm saying? And so when he wanted to do this dialogue, it was actually at my behest that we could do it publicly, because he told me, you know, he reached out to me and he was like, I want to just talk to you about some stuff. And I asked him, debate talk for you or behind the scenes? And he was like, either one. And he was like, debate talk for you, but it was really up to me. So I said, yo, we can do debate talk for you. You know what I'm saying? So the brother just wanted to just talk to me after the debate was so real about some understanding and his understanding of what it means to walk in the spirit. And I'm very eager to hear what Bleedo has to say. So I'll just look forward to this dialogue, and I'm pretty sure everybody listening will learn something from both parties. So let's just get this thing started.
All right, once again, it's Brother Josh right here on Debate Talk Radio. We got a lot of people on the phone lines, y'all. I see you. I see y'all. People pressing number 1 way in advance, as usual. We're going to get to y'all a little later on. We appreciate y'all. Make sure to spread the word on Facebook. Let people know that Debate Talk for you is live and on the air. And attach that number, 319-527-6239. This is the show where you can call in live with your questions and your comments. All you got to do is press number 1. There's no foul language, though. Got to keep it clean, keep it professional. By the way, the Blog Talk chat room is officially open, family. That's right. You can interact with me or anybody that's inside the chat room right here on Blog Talk Radio. Just go to this dialogue, Letters of the Law versus Spirit of the Law. Click on this dialogue, and when you scroll down at the bottom, you're going to see like a little box there where you can interact with me or any of the people that's inside the chat. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get this thing started. We're going to start off with an opening statement. It's only going to be 5 minutes each. Once we get to the 2-minute mark, you're going to hear this sound. And that's the sound you'll hear. And once the time is totally up, you're going to hear this sound. I'll play this sound. Yeah, I'll just play that sound. And that means it's over. And, of course, after that, we'll get the dialogue going. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. So let's start off with my brother Bleedo. Let me open up his phone line. 5 minutes, go ahead.
All right, cool. Thanks for the opportunity again. Come back on and have this dialogue. What I want to say is, what made me ask for this dialogue was I listened to So Real and Josh basically have a debate about the Sabbath day, and you know, from my history, I used to be basically a Hebrew Israelite in a sense. For those that know me, know my history a little bit. And, you know, I always used to, you know, ask a lot of questions like, you know, we all come from a Christian background. You know, these are the things that we were taught when we was growing up, when we was younger or whatever. Our parents was Christians. So, you know, when I became a Hebrew, it was kind of like something different. But, you know, the Hebrews in a sense use the scriptures. They use the Bible, you know, to show why it is that they believe what they believe in. And the Christians in a sense, you know, growing up in the church, you don't really, you know what I mean, they don't really use the Bible in the sense, you know, they read a couple scriptures and you have a service or whatever. So at that particular moment, the Hebrew Israelite stuff was making a lot of sense to me, you know what I mean, as far as keeping the laws and the commandments. But there was always something in me, which I later became to realize that it was the God that was within me that always had me questioning things, you know, while I was a part of that, the Hebrew Israelite teaching or whatever. And it was always something that stood out to me about the commandments, you know, about the law. You had in Deuteronomy chapter 28, you have where you have blessings and you have curses, where, you know, the place I came from, they was like, well, you know, Israel didn't keep the commandments, they didn't keep the law, so we come under these curses and we are these people. So, you know, at that time, I believed in that wholeheartedly, and I began to keep the letter of the law. You know, from my understanding, I began to keep dietary law, to keep the feast days, and to keep the Sabbaths. Now, all of these things were outside of my, you know, outside, things that I would do on the outside. You know, these wasn't these wasn't things that had to do with the inner man or, you know, for me even questioning why I was doing these things. I just felt like, okay, these are the things that I had to do because this is what the Bible was telling me to do. You know what I mean? So long story short, I began to study eschatology. I began to learn about like full preterists and partial preterists and futurists and things of that nature. So that was another thing that, you know, I've always questioned and always wondered. So these are also thoughts that was in my mind. Again, you know, the God that was within me would have me question these things. So then I began to say, okay, is Jesus coming back? Did Jesus come back already? And again, there are plenty of studies out there that support both sides. You know, you got some full preterists that can make a great argument to say that Jesus came back in 70 A.D. Then you got, you know, some futurists that, you know, this is going to say. Okay, then you got some futurists, you know, that can support that Jesus didn't come back. You know, basically using the scriptures. So, so I said I got 2 minutes left. To make a long story short, I began to study from more of an esoteric perspective, more of an inward perspective, you know. And one scripture that stood out to me, or one verse that stood out to me was when Jesus was speaking to Nicodemus about being born again. So, you know, basically when you have a religious mind in a sense, and when you have all these different understandings of the Bible, you have to be born again, you know. And my take on being born again was I had to flush out everything that I was taught from a kid, you know, because as a child we're taught to think a certain way about the Creator, about God. You know, we're taught to, you know, these are the views or the traditional views of how we view God. So I had to start to go within myself and understand how do I go within myself? You know, I started to learn how to meditate and things of that nature. And the moment I began to do those things is the moment that God had revealed, you know, himself to me. You know, I began to understand the scriptures, you know, from more of an esoteric perspective. Now, I don't want to say I have all the answers. I'm not here to break down every parable, every mystery in the Bible, and none of that. I want to focus solely on this law, you know, because the law and Christ is one and the same. Because the Creator said, I will put my laws in the inward parts, and Christ also dwells within man. This light also is what dwells in man. So I want to kind of, you know, like read maybe a few verses once we, you know, get to having a dialogue and see what Josh think about certain things, and, you know, just basically build from there. So with that, that's my opening statement.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio.
All right, title of this dialogue, Letter of the Law versus Spirit of the Law. Bleedo and Brother Josh are here. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. You just heard the opening statement from Bleedo, so let's go to Brother Josh and hear his opening statement. Again, it's 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thanks again, Sal, and appreciate that brief explanation of your understanding of the topic, Bleedo. My take on it is basically there are different things that Paul means in the scriptures when he mentions the letter of the law. So you have to read it in context to know specifically what he's talking about, because letter of the law can refer to things written in the Old Testament, and it can also refer to specific laws in the Old Testament when you talk about the letter of the law. The letter of the law can also refer to a more physical aspect of obeying God's laws. This is in contrast to the spirit of the law, which deals more with the spiritual implications and deeper meanings of the letter of the law. And as Brito reached out to me on YouTube, and as I explained to him, many people make the assumption that when you talk about walking after the Spirit and not in oldness of letter, some verses I'm pretty sure he's going to touch on, and myself as well, a lot of people think that walking in the Spirit means to physically abandon the laws of the Old Testament. You know, such concepts that So Real was throwing at me in our debate, you know, because you understand the spiritual, or as Bleedo like to say, the esoteric meaning behind the Sabbath, you form the conclusion that that means you no longer have to physically obey the Sabbath rule or Sabbath law. And that is a gross misconception that people make about Paul's writings, because when you actually walk in the Spirit, as I plan to show time and time again in this dialogue, it does not make you abandon the physical observance of Torah law, but on the contrary, gives you a better understanding of it and helps you to carry it out with a clean heart. In other words, you're not just going through the motions. You're not just doing this as a routine. You're doing it because out of obedience to your Creator, and also because you understand that these laws were symbols, or as Paul said, a shadow. They foreshadowed things to come. And people get so caught up in the foreshadowing and the exoteric meaning of these laws that they just completely drop the physical. And there is no testimony of anybody in the New Testament, any apostle, any disciple, Jesus Christ himself. There is no testimony of these people having understood the spirit of the law, turning around and then abandoning the letter of the law. So we need to get understanding on what it means to serve God in newness of spirit and not in oldness of letter, because that is the everyday Christian interpretation of what Paul meant. And they'll say things like, see, that means we don't have to keep the Sabbath no more. We don't have to worry about those holy days anymore. We don't have to wear fringes anymore. We don't have to worry about those dietary regulations. You just got to serve God in the spirit. But a lot of people don't understand that in oldness of letter refers also to you not really even obeying God's law in the first place. So I'm interested in just hearing some of the verses that Bleedo is going to expound on, and I'm more curious than anything else. So with that, I yield the rest of my time.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
All right, family, the number to call in is 319-527-6239. Once again, it's the season finale. I see we got more and more people calling into the program. We appreciate the family that's tuning in to the season finale. All right, so we're going to get this dialogue started, guys. We're going to get the dialogue started, and then later on, we're going to open up the phone lines for those who have questions. I see people pressing number 1 way in advance. Stand by. I'm going to go down in order and get some of your questions later on, but let's get this dialogue started. All right, so let me open up both brothers' phone lines, and you guys can begin a dialogue.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll start off since I started opening. What I want to say is, in no shape or way, anybody or to the callers out there, am I telling you to not do what it is that you feel like you have to do? You know, if you feel like the Creator is leading you or telling you to keep the Sabbath or things of that nature, the dietary laws and things of that nature, in no way am I telling you not to do that. What I basically want to have in this dialogue is just basically touch on what does it mean, what does this spirit mean, you know what I'm saying, and what does this spirit represent. What I often see, even with Paul's writing, in a sense, Josh, I see that what you said about like some people would take what he's saying and kind of like mess it up or whatever, right? What I like to say is that the old covenant, this is how I view it, and I would like to ask you a question and see how you see it on this. The old covenant, from my understanding and the way I view it, is I call it the covenant of the flesh. Because everything in the Old Testament, in a sense, you have like physical, like holy days, in a sense. You have physical sacrifices. You have a physical temple and things of that nature. And then when you get to the New Covenant or the New Testament, in a sense, you see things basically go spiritual. In a sense, you have Christ as the Passover lamb, Christ as the sacrifice, and things of that nature. What I want to ask you is, Paul touched on something where he said that we are the temple of God. Where do you think Paul got this understanding of us now, as far as like our physical bodies being the temple of God and not necessarily like a building. Like kind of how it was in the Old Testament, like, well, they had a physical temple, and when Christ was like, you see this temple, it'll be destroyed and things of that nature. Where did this idea of us being the temple come from?
Well, as you just mentioned, the first direct reference to somebody's body being the temple is when Jesus was prophesying his own death and resurrection, when he said, destroy this temple in 3 days. And afterwards, I shall raise it up. That's the first direct reference to it. Although you can see references of the people being the body of Christ as well. So we are spoken of as being the body of Christ in Paul's writings, and we're spoken of, and Jesus said that his body is the temple. So when you connect those two together, being that we are the body of Christ, it also makes us the temple of God. So that's where this ideal mainly manifested from. That's how we are the temple, symbolically or metaphorically speaking.
Okay, so would you agree with me in the sense that temple, in the sense, like in the Old Testament, it was like you said, like a type or a shadow. It was something that was physically in existence, or something that they physically would go to, in a sense. But now, in the spirit sense, this is not something that is physical, in the sense that everybody can go to. It's like it's an individual thing. Like your body is the temple, my body is a temple, and this spirit of God dwells in this temple. Would you agree with that, or you see something different?
Well, it's actually both individual and as collective. When Paul said, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of God," he was addressing the Corinthian church. So we are the temple of God collectively as well, as a unit. So all the people, all believers or Christians or whatever name you want to use, Messianics, they collectively are the temple. But even though this concept was in existence and Paul was teaching it, Paul never at any time desecrated or spoke against the actual physical temple. These things do point toward things, and they do represent things. But we have to understand that just because we understand what these things represent, they in no way take away from their physical manifestations. What you have is something superior. It's superior, but not superior on its own. Us being the temple of God collectively is superior to the physical temple, but not in of itself. So you still have to understand and deal with the physical. Nobody in ancient Israel in the first century ever used the spirit or the symbolism to just straight be like, okay, we done with the physical. That's what I was saying.
Okay. Well, I kind of see where you're going, and I would say, like, even in a physical sense, our body is what we would say is physical. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, the spirit that's in this body is what makes it, with the understanding of it being symbolic, or being a symbol. But what I want to say about what I want to touch on with that. So with the Sabbath day, for example, like that's kind of what y'all was talking about. The Sabbath day it also has a symbolic meaning to it. Would you agree?
Yes, it points toward a rest period for all the servants of God.
Okay. So with that physical, for example, you said that the spiritual, it supersedes, or it supersedes the physical. So if there is a superseding in the spirit, then the Sabbath could be maintained, or could be obtained like right now. Would you agree?
Not, like I said, not in and of itself. It's superior, but not in and of itself alone. And what I meant by that is, when it's superior, you still have to observe the physical of it. All the superior means is now you have a better understanding of why you're doing this. You're not going through the motions anymore. When you observe the Sabbath, just like where Paul, I'll give you a perfect example. When Paul told the Corinthians, every time you keep the Passover, you do show, which means signify, right, the Lord's death until he comes. They were still physically doing this, even though they understood long before then that the bread and the wine were just symbols of the Lord's body and his blood. But Paul still told the Corinthians, as often as you do this, that means whenever you do this, you show, you symbolize, you signify, you allegorize the Lord's death till he comes. So it's the same thing with the Sabbath. Every time we keep the Sabbath or observe Shabbat, we signify that rest that is to come. So again, when you understand why you're doing it, that's what makes it superior, not understanding that it's superior and abandoning the inferior. That makes sense?
Okay.
What I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I got what I was about to say. To add to what you're saying, I think that it's not necessarily abandoned. Like I think that with the a lot of people who teach like the esoteric or the metaphysical or whatever, I understand, like some of them can abandon the Bible in a sense and things of that nature. But it's not necessarily abandoning it. It's just basically having the fullness of the understanding of what it is. So like the Sabbath, for example, represents rest, and you know what I'm saying, and that's really what it is. And this rest is could be obtained through the Spirit. You know what I mean? And when I say through the Spirit, I'm not saying like how the Christians would say, oh well, Sunday is the day that is the day of worship or whatever like that. I'm saying that like through meditation and things like that this rest and this peace can be found within you. You know what I mean? Because this is where God said he will be. This is where, Christ said he will dwell within us. So this rest that we're seeking from the inward man could be obtained, basically through meditation, or basically it could be obtained at any time. Because God will not leave us comfortless. You know what I mean? So if we want to be comforted or we looking for that peace, we can go within ourselves and we can find that peace. You know what I mean? So I'm not taking away from a physical Sabbath, because a physical Sabbath, in a sense, and I think like I told you when we was talking before this, like a job, they work you physically, and we can see that the children of Israel, they were in Egypt. And they will work. It say, I think, work rigor or whatever. I think it's Exodus in chapter 2, I believe, where it say that it was work. So the Creator gave a Sabbath, and He said that your manservants and your maidservants and things of that nature, that they will have rest, or that they will be refreshed. So we can actually see a physical resting from a workplace. You know what I mean? From a job place. It's not every Saturday or every whatever day a person perceives a 7 day is. It's not every seven day, but the word seven, but the number 7 is also a symbol, and it also has a meaning to to it as well.
True, but again, without realizing it, you're taking a spiritual concept and you're trying to impose it on a physical law. God had physical laws and commandments that He commanded us to keep. And if you deviate from that in any shape, form, or fashion, you don't understand the spiritual side. That's what people miss. People think the opposite. They think by deviating from the physical observance of the Sabbath, by deviating from that means you have more understanding. But let me read something to you. This is from the Apocrypha. This is Ecclesiasticus. Now, I don't know if you subscribe to the Apocrypha or not, but I know it's a lot of people who listening who do. I can show you similar concepts.
No, any book. I ain't like that. You can read any book, man. Any book you got.
Okay. Now, look what it says. This is Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, chapter 39. This is verse 1 through 3. Listen to what it says. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof. Did you mention that word, meditation, right? Will seek out the wisdom of the prophets. Seek out the wisdom of all the ancients and be occupied in prophecy. So that sounds like you, Bleedo. You're meditating on the law. You're seeking out the wisdom of all the ancients and occupied in prophecy. You said eschatology, that's end time stuff, so that's prophecy. But look what else it says. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences and be conversant in dark parables. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think it means when it says dark parables? What do you think that means? What it refers to when it says you're going to be converted in dark parables?
Well, like a dark parable or a dark saying, it's like, from my understanding, it's like something that's a symbol or things that's spoken of with a meaning, like something with a deeper meaning in a sense. So like how Jesus was, speaking parables, and then he would walk you through the parable, you know what I mean? But he would use symbols, like he would say, like a bird or whatever, the sower sow the word, and then the word will, things of that nature. So he would use symbols to get to a point in the parable.
Correct. Now, would you say that dark parables can also refer to exoteric things understood by very few?
Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's kind of what the parable is.
Okay, now you just read where it says, he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High. Now look what it says right here. This is what it says in Sirach chapter 21 and 11. Now listen to the changing of the words, but it's saying the same thing. He that keepeth the law of the Lord getteth the understanding thereof. So it said, he that keepeth the law of the Lord getteth the understanding thereof. So how do you understand the parables and the dark things? How do you understand it according to Sirach 21 and 11? How do you understand that?
Read that again. Say it again.
Sirach chapter 21 and 11, also known as Ecclesiasticus, he that keepeth the law of the Lord getteth the understanding thereof. So it's telling you, if you keep the law of the Lord, you get the understanding of it.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so
so let me ask you this question. So on the flip side, if you don't keep the law of the Lord, will you understand it?
No.
Okay. Now, back in this context here,
I want to
keeping the law.
To that.
Okay,
I want to respond
go ahead.
to the scripture. Okay, let's go to second. Hold on, let me get that real quick. I think it's Second Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 3. I want to say. You can keep going. I'm gonna find it, and then I'll read what I want to add to that.
I think you might be talking about 2 Corinthians chapter 3.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm talking about.
That.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
You can start at verse 6.
If you want to finish, yeah, that's why. I got it. You want to finish? I ain't mean to cut you off. I was just trying to add to what you're saying, because
I made my point. I made my point.
When that was written in that book, I'm not familiar with it. Would you say that they was this before Christ or before Jesus in the New Covenant, or was this during like the Old Covenant times?
Definitely before the institution of the New Covenant by Christ. I'd say about a couple of 100 years at least. So definitely before, but that is my point. That's where I'm going with this. Okay.
The reason why I asked that is because now we gotta, like, and I know you understand this, but the first covenant and with those commandments, there was a promise given with that covenant, right?
Yes, and
that covenant,
and there was a punishment with breaking the new covenant too, as well. You know that, right?
Yeah. But I just want to make a point real quick. So I just want to make a point. So that promise, the Israelites was looking for land in a sense, right? They were looking for this land flowing with milk and honey and things of that nature. And actually God went on this promise with that covenant, and he gave them land, right? They actually obtained this land, and they were kicked out of this land. Kind of similar to the story of the Garden of Eden, where you had, God basically dressed up the Garden of Eden and put Adam and Eve in this garden the same way that he put Israel in the land, and then they both got kicked out of the land. You know what I mean? So with this, what I'm saying here is that this land now is the body, though. Like this land, this dust of the ground that man is, this is the body, and that those laws and those commandments is now in man. They are not outside of man. So a man, like it's saying I think 2 John 2:27, that the anointing will teach you all things, and you don't need a man to teach you, in a sense. You know what I mean? Because now man can go to God. Man can go within himself, and he can go right to God. And that's why I kind of wanted to pull up this this 2 Corinthians chapter 3, where it says, verse 3 says, for as much as you manifestly declare to be the epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written out with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where the Creator dwells, within man now. So this Spirit, and again, this law, because remember, the law is, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. I will put my laws in the inward part. So now this law that's inward, that's in man, I say is a symbol for Christ. I say is a symbol for God. I say that this law is now is not on tables of stones. We don't have to go outside of ourselves in order to to obtain these laws, or what I mean. Like these laws are being fulfilled in us, because even when Jesus said, "Think not that I come to destroy the law, but to fulfill." So what Christ left man, we have the same. We can fulfill these laws now within ourselves. We don't have to do these things outside of ourselves.
Okay, now let me show you something that's wrong with that. Now, you notice that you pointed out, and correctly pointed out, that under the new covenant, the law is in our hearts, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, do me a favor. Could you turn to Psalms 37 and verse 31? Oh, sorry, 30 and 31. Let me turn that with you, and I want you to read something.
Well, let me say this too, because I think I know this verse I know this verse where you got to go. Now, hold on.
Okay, let's read it first. Let's read it. Let's get it out in the open first. 30 and 31.
Okay. 30 and 31. You said Psalms,
let's get these
right?
two verses out in the open. Psalms, yes. 37. An Old Testament book, by the way, which means under the operation of the Old Covenant, written by King David, who definitely was living under the Old Covenant, just to show you that
I know this verse. Yeah, I know this verse.
Okay.
You said 30, and then you can find this also. This ain't like this is. You can read this also when it talks about the valley of dry bones, where it talks about putting the breath in man. But you can go there too.
But that, but that's a later thing that will happen. But we're talking about something that was existing during the time of the Old Covenant. The valley of the dry bones is talking about the restoration of Israel. We know about that. That's a future event. But we're talking about something that was existing during the time of the Old Covenant. Now, could you read 30 and 31, please? And by the way, I'll read anything you want me to read, too, just so you know that.
Okay. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide.
30 and 31. 30 and 31.
30?
Yeah, read verses 30 and 31.
Oh, okay. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talk of judgment. I'm just gonna read it how I read. I can't talk like them. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide.
So, would you agree that the concept of the law being in your heart existed way before you get to Jesus?
Yes, I agree with that. You can start that back in like I say in Genesis. You can go back to when God gave man a breath of life. That's the Spirit of God.
Okay.
That's the law of God. As I said, the law.
Hold up, Bleedo. But the law we're talking about right here, what law is he talking about right here? What law did David have in mind when he said this? You want to talk about no breath of life?
I don't know what law he had in mind. I mean,
he was King David, and in the law it says a copy of the law shall be given to every reigning king. That's in the law. You should have a copy of the law, meaning the Torah, meaning 613, the Ten Commandments. So when David wrote this, what law must he have been talking about that they only talked about all the way up to this point? There's no other law that they talked about up to this point. So what law was he talking about when he said the law?
I got where you're going. So let me just say this. Now, in the Torah, so people can understand and hear me clear. The God gave. I'm not saying that these laws is not given by God. Like I don't want you to I don't want to paint that picture.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay. So of course, if you meditate on the word, it say if you meditate on His word, things of that nature, and teach your children this. So of course we know that these laws would dwell in the mind of man. But I got an answer to that as well. So I'll just say, I didn't finish though. My whole question is do you agree
that the law that David is talking about that was in man's heart was the law of Moses. In this verse right here, what law was in his heart? He said the law of his God is in his heart.
For argument's sake, I'll just agree with you and say yes. Let's talk about the more. But let's get a more clear one. I'm gonna show how that word law. I'm gonna show you how that word law, like how we can, like you saying that. But then I want to show you something how that word law, like just so you can see why I kind of look at it differently than how you kind of look at it.
That's fine. But for the sake of argument, let's read one where there's no doubt what it's talking about. Can you give me Psalm 40 and verse 8?
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to come back to that 2 Corinthians, by the way, because that's in my notes to explain, too. Now, this, again, is an example of David. Now, we know when David says verse 8.
I delight to do thy will, O my God, yet thy law is within my heart.
He said, I delight to do thy will, O my God. This is David. Yea, thy law, your law, is within my heart. So there's no question that when he said, my God, David's God was the God of Israel. And there's only one set of laws that the God of Israel gave to the children of Israel. There's no record of God giving any other set of laws or philosophy or rules other than the 613. So, and you know by the time David came on the scene, Israel was already established as a kingdom. So when he said, your law is within my heart, did David understand that? This is my question to you. Then you can get your breakdown in. Did David understand that to mean he was not supposed to physically beat God anymore?
It's kind of hard for me to speak for somebody else. That's why I say, like,
well, I mean, based on, let me finish it. Based on how he,
based on what we can read about David. Yeah, based on what we can read about David, yeah. I mean, but I can't say what he thought and how he thought or what he knew because I don't.
Well, that's what I meant. Well, that's But that's what I meant. So based on what we can read about how he operated, he understood the law being in his heart to mean he was doing it. He was actually physically carrying it out. Based on what we can read, right? These are the first testimonies we have of the law being in somebody's heart. Well, before we get to the new covenant. And it always meant you are keeping it physically. It never changed from that. And I'm going to show you that, but I'll let you break the point you want to bring. And I'll read whatever you want me to read.
Okay, that's cool. Let's look at Hebrews 10 real quick.
Okay.
And we could just read verse 1.
Okay, Hebrews 10. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of those things, can never, with those sacrifices which they offered year by year, continually make the comers thereunto perfect.
Okay, so this law that you're talking about, David was talking about, was this law associated with sacrifices? The 613 law was sacrifices?
Yes and no. Yes and no. The reason why I say yes and no, yes, if you were a Levitical priest. No, if you were a common man. And again, yes, because all of God's laws consisted of morality law and sacrificial laws. But in this particular verse right here, it's just dealing with the sacrificial, as it points out. It's not talking about Sabbath. It's not talking about adultery. It's not talking about holy days. This is just talking about specifically. When it says law and it don't go into specifics, you can only sum up that it means the entire law. But if it says law and it goes into specifics, then you have to deal with specifically what it's saying. I can't go to a place in the New Testament and it says law and it starts talking about sacrifices and I throw the Sabbath in there because the Sabbath was not a sacrificial law. I can't throw adultery in there because adultery is not a sacrificial law.
That ain't why I went there.
I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know that's where my head is.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Okay. Now read the next verse.
For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshipers once purged should have had no more conscience of sin. But from this is how I view this, and this is how I understand this. Now we understand that they had yearly sacrifices and things of that nature and again these are all laws that pertain to this land
okay, which I want to paint the picture of when we deal with the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. As I stated earlier, that this is a physical thing. So this is like you pointed out too. This is a physical landmass. These are physical sacrifices that took place for the people because people sinned. We know that people wasn't walking around not sinning. I mean, there was not people just. I mean, I'm not gonna say that because I wasn't there, so I can't speak for people. But I'm just saying from this verse, we understand why the sacrifices were being made, right? So it says here that it couldn't purge them or their conscience of sin. So sin was in their conscience. Sin is in man's conscience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
True.
So now let's read hold on. Let's skip down to verse 9.
Okay. 9. Then said he, Lo, I come to do thy will. O God, he take away the first, that he may establish the second.
Okay, so we see here that something was taken away, right?
Yes, the sacrificial law was taken away temporarily, because I can show you that it's going to come back.
Okay, I don't like. Okay, then it say okay.
It's in prophecy. It's in prophecy. I'm just letting you know, right? It says by which we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all.
Okay, so now something was taken away. So now in this covenant was sacrifices a part of this law? Was sacrifices a part of this law?
Yes.
Okay,
the
so
first covenant sacrifices were part of the law.
Okay, so then something was taken away, right? I mean, something we could clearly read something. The first was taken away. What is the first? What does that pertain to? What's your understanding on that?
The first pertains to the sacrifices and how they were not sufficient. That's what we're talking about when it said the first was taken away to establish the second. The second sacrifice being the sacrifice of Jesus Christ.
Okay, that's cool. Let me see. Let's go here real quick, and then if you want to go somewhere, you can go. So we could just keep going like back and forth if you want to do that. That's fine.
Okay. Well, let me take you to Deuteronomy 6:6 because I want to dwell on a little bit more what it means when it says the law is in your heart, because under the old covenant, law in your heart meant doing the law. It did not mean you just thinking about it. You understand the spiritual meaning of it. That's why I showed you in the Apocrypha when it says, he that keepeth the law getteth the understanding thereof, and those are the people that understand the dark sayings. This is the mindset, right? And I'm going to show you something else in the Bible. I want to go like to 2 places.
Okay,
right?
That's cool.
Because if you're not actually physically keeping the law, you do not understand it. That's what the ancient Hebrews believed. That's what the prophets believed. That's what Jesus taught. If you're not actually keeping it. And people who don't keep the law try to say they understand the law, and they don't. You can't get the law other than by keeping the law. That's the only way you can understand it. So if you're not keeping Shabbat,
I just want to make it. Yeah, I just want to make it clear that I'm saying that the law is a symbol for Christ. I want the people to understand that I'm saying that the law is a symbol for the light of God, and it's a symbol because that's what law is a symbol for order. So I'm not saying that the law is that God's law in the sense because God's law is in the entire world, like the sun go up, the sun go down, or sunset or whatever. That's God's law, that's God's order. So I'm not taking away. Can you break God's law though? Can you break God's law? That's the question. Can we break God's law? You saying can we break it? Like explain. Can I break His law? Like he got laws, he got commandments, he got instructions. Can you sin? Can I break? Right. Yeah. Exactly. That'll be another good word to use. But I'm just using breaking the law to keep it easy. Yeah. Can you break God's law? Yeah, it's possible that you can go against. Yeah, it's possible. Okay, today. So understand then that if you can break God's law, that's something physical you have to do first. You can break it in your mind too. We know that, but that's something physical you have to do.
which means there has to be a physical law in place.
I got you. I'm sorry. I ain't gonna cut you off no more. I'm gonna listen. I got what you're saying, but when you say physically break something, remember, it's not like, and this is a verse that Jesus said is not what it's what comes out of man. You know what I'm saying? So the inward man, you know, can act out things. So I'm not saying like, you know what I mean, you can't act out things. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? Because if let's say for example, and I always kind of use this as an example in the book of James. It says that matter of fact, I'll go there when you make your point. I'll go there and I'll show you what I mean by that.
Okay. Now this is Deuteronomy 6:6, right?
Okay.
Read verses 5 and 6 for me, please. Deuteronomy 6 verses 5 and 6. This is talking about the law.
Okay. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Excuse me. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart.
Okay, now he said, these words I command you this day shall be in your heart, right?
Exactly. Now, now hold on. Now, let me make a point on that. Now, because we're going to put the time period and the time stamp on this. So now when this was said, and he said that because that go back to the Hebrews chapter 10 about the conscience and the mind and things being purged. Now, if these things were...
That's cool.
Yeah,
but hold on, Bleedo, you got to let me go. But Bleedo, before you jump back to that, you got to let me explain how the Torah defines that. You can't use Hebrews to define Deuteronomy. You got to use Deuteronomy and Torah to define Torah. Because remember, he that keepeth the law gives the understanding of it. Now give me Deuteronomy 30 and 14. We still talking about it being in your heart. I'm trying to show you what consciousness means. You're making consciousness means something that can't be read in the scriptures. Consciousness of the law. You're making it mean something else. I'm showing you the biblical understanding and description of what it means to have the law in your heart. So read Deuteronomy 30 and verse 14.
Okay. But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it.
Now he said the word, which is the law. If you read this whole chapter, he was calling it the law at first, and the commandment. Then he called it the word. He said, but the word is very near unto you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. Now, according to Deuteronomy 30 and 14, what is the definitive description of what it means for the word or the law to be in your heart? According to Deuteronomy 30 and 14, what's the definitive? It gives you the definition right after it says it's in your heart.
The word.
No, I mean, but what does it mean? Okay. But what does it mean when it's in your heart?
That thou may do it. That the word.
Okay, so what is the Okay, so what does it mean to have the law in your heart? That means you are what with the law?
I don't know what you're trying to.
You just read it. What I'm saying, okay, let me break it. Okay, you don't know, let me explain.
Yeah, you saying that you are what with the law okay, again.
No, let me explain it. You said you don't understand. Okay. He said he said this word is in your heart. Come that you may do it. He's giving you the reason the word is in your heart. This is what it means for the word to be in your heart. So when you read about the word being in your heart, going back to the law in Deuteronomy, the definition, the description, when you say the law of God is in my heart, the law of God is in my heart, old or new covenant, and I'm going to show you in the new covenant too. The definition of the law being in your heart was you actually doing it. So if the Sabbath is in your heart, as described in the law, because first he gave the actual laws, then he told you they're in your heart. So he gave you the actual law, the actual physical law. And then he said these are supposed to be in your heart, which the definition is that you may do it. How did they physically keep the Sabbath, Bleedo? Give me the description. I want to make sure you understand that before we start talking about spirit.
We understand that if they physically kept. I'm not. The people do that today. I'm not taking. Like I say, I think you missing the point of what I'm trying to say as far as the spirit of the law. Okay, so people do that today. Now,
we're gonna get to the spirit.
So let's say I'm a roll with you right now. And again, we know that Christ is the Word. So again, I'm still trying to put it in context of what I'm trying to say as far as the law, the Word. Christ
is not the literal word though. Christ is not the literal word though, because you say that As in, when you read it here, this is talking about Christ.
Right. Well, according to the Bible, Christ is the wisdom and power of God. According
Christ is not the literal word. He is a representative. He represents the word. When you're reading about word right here in Deuteronomy 30 and 14, this is not talking about Jesus. This is talking about the actual physical law. Jesus would later become a representation or a physical manifestation of said law. But this ain't talking about Jesus right here.
But
this is about the actual law.
Now, I ain't saying, I'm not, okay, listen, I'm saying that Christ, which is the wisdom and power of God, that's the word of God. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Jesus in the flesh or whatever was the fleshly man that walked the earth with the power and wisdom of God as the Christ of God. That's two different things. The wisdom and power of God is what's always existed in the creation. That's always what's existed in the universe. That's we talk two totally different languages.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying that
all I'm trying to get the people to understand. All I'm trying to get the people to understand, though, Bleedo, is what was the Hebrews' first understanding of what it meant to have the law in your heart.
I'm a roll. Okay,
you
look,
have,
I'm a
you
roll.
Have, you have to admit.
No,
I'm a physically You can show me that. If you can show me that the law in your heart changed to not physically keeping the law no more, then I got to roll with that. But I'm just setting the foundation to show the people that the very first mention of the law being in your heart, number one, existed in the old covenant first, and number two, it meant physically obeying God's law, like physically resting on a literal seventh day, not physically sleeping with another man's wife, not physically murdering somebody. We ain't talking about we can't keep jumping back and forth between the exoteric and the literal, or the metaphorical and the literal. We got to pick one and get a full fleshed out understanding of that first for the people. Not for us, because we understand. For the people sake.
I got you.
Let's see if there's a difference. So my question again is, what was the definition that the ancient Hebrews understood the law in their heart meant? How did they understand that in a physical sense? Before you get to Christ, before you get through the New Testament, we got to understand all this first. We just can't dive into Hebrews, dive into 1 John, dive into Paul. We got to understand this first. What did they understand about this? When the law was in their heart, do you agree that they understood it to mean they were physically doing it?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I said, do you agree? Yeah, I hear you now. I said,
okay, I was trying to talk. Okay, what I'm saying is, they made a covenant. Okay, so this covenant was made with rules and regulations that took place. I'm not saying that doesn't exist or that's not something that exists. For example, this country, we have rules and regulations. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to just jump in the car and run the stop sign or run the red light or whatever. You know that there's repercussions and things of that nature that come with you doing certain things. So I'm not taking away from that aspect. But what I'm saying is this, though. When you say you keep the Sabbath, or when a person say they keep the Sabbath, what I'm saying is, what does that do to the inward man? That's what I'm saying. Like, nothing if you don't understand the spiritual aspect of it. Nothing. See, that's what I'm trying to get you to understand. I'm trying to get to the spiritual aspect of it, but you're trying to start the people out in the spirit when they don't understand the flesh first. You got to understand that's why Jesus told Nicodemus, if I have told you earthly things and you don't believe, how can you believe if I try to tell you heavenly things? If we can't even get people to believe in that there once was a physical Sabbath and understand how that physical Sabbath was physically carried out, then we can't dive into the New Testament and start talking about that spiritual rest that Christ talks about. We got to get the people up on this first. This is why I said a lot of people who jump into this exoteric stuff, they either ignore or they don't understand the physical foundation laid out first and how it pertains to the spirit, not contradicts the spirit, not goes against the spirit, but how it pertains. That's why I asked you, but we got to finish this thought, because I don't want to get off my thought, Bleedo. I need you to acknowledge before we continue that in the Old Testament, we're not talking about the New Testament, not yet, but in the Old Testament,
Deuteronomy 30 and 14 is defining the word in your heart, which is the law, as them physically doing it. Right? You agree with that? Right?
Yes, I agree with that already.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what I need from you, okay.
And that law is also sacrifices and everything that comes with that law. We can't separate.
Okay. I'm not separating them. I'm not. But
okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not separating them. I'm telling you that when he said they do it, first of all, the sacrificial law was not for everybody. Everybody didn't make sacrifices. Only the Levites did. So that's a different topic all in itself. But all I'm telling you is that when he said this, when he was saying this, he was addressing Israel as a unit. And the laws he was talking about to them that was supposed to be in their hearts and minds were the laws that were universal. All of God's laws were not universal. Some only applied to kings. Some only applied to women. Some only applied to priests. But in Deuteronomy 30 and 14, when he talks about the word being in your heart and do it, he's not talking to Bleedo when it talks about a woman being on her cycle, because Bleedo can't do that because Bleedo don't get cycles. He's a man. He's talking about the universal law that applies to everybody, not the sacrificial law, not the menstrual cycle, but things like the Sabbath. That's universal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. That's universal. You can just look at them and tell if it don't apply to a certain group of Israel or a certain gender of Israel, or if it's talking about everybody. All I want to establish here is whatever laws he is talking about, the definition of them being in your heart was that you doing them. So when we start off in the New Testament and we start talking about the law being in people's hearts, you're telling the people that definition has been modified or it means something a little different because now it's getting away from physically doing something. And I'm okay with you saying that, but when I go there, I'm going to show you that it's saying the same thing, that it always meant this spirit being in you, the spirit being in you, the law being in your heart. This is not a new covenant. But my whole point is this is not a new covenant concept. That's a mistake that a lot of Christians make. Oh, the law is in our hearts now. The law was supposed to always be in your heart. He's actually putting them back in your heart, you know? He's not giving you anything new. He just put something back that you wouldn't do. But I'm going to show you.
Can I talk?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks. All right, what I'm saying is, and again, I'm not making that Christian argument, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want the no pictures being painted. I'm not saying that there's no physical aspect as far as that goes with the Bible. We can clearly see that. We have a lot of people that follow the Bible word for word in the literal sense, and they carry out certain things in the Bible, you know, further. You have people that literally tried to walk on water because they read that Jesus walked on water. So I'm not taking away from that element, but what I'm trying to focus on is the spirit of the law. Like when I say with a man being fulfilled or a woman being fulfilled and keeping God's law for the inward man, I'm trying to focus in on what that is. That is something that man can touch today because the Bible says to know God and to know Christ is to have life eternal. That is not something that's far off. That's not just like the same with the word when it says it's not far off and it's near. I'm not saying that none of this is far off. I'm telling the people that this is something that you could obtain today and that word that we're talking about in that law is already in you. It's within you, and you can actually physically touch these things. That's what I'm saying. So when we look at, like what you're saying, for example, with the Sabbath, I want to go to Exodus 23 real quick.
Okay.
I want you to read verse 12 for me.
Exodus 23 and verse 12. And it says, hold on one second. It says 23 and 12?
Yeah.
It says, 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed.
Okay, so now there was a time and period, you know, from how I look at this, that did take place. Okay, I'm not denying that didn't take place. Okay, but what I'm saying is this was the purpose of it, so that thy handmaid and thy ass and the things of that nature that all came within that landmass that came into this covenant that was made with them. This is what they had to take place in.
A physical
right.
Okay,
exactly. Something that's physical. So what I'm saying now is we not in that landmass. We don't have handmaids. We don't have strength. And I know, you know, or we go somewhere, we got servants. I understand all that.
Actually, we do still got handmaids and strangers. You ain't never heard of people having illegal immigrants working for them? They're made. Handmade is just a compound of it. We still got maids and servants today.
I'm saying for the common people, like we common people. We common people, so I mean, we even the common people, but Bleedo, even the common people have servants. They don't have full-time servants, but we have servants. Every time you go get your tires changed, you get your engine worked up. But you missing the point of what it's saying. But you missing the point of what it's saying. It says so for example, it says this is what you were supposed to do because you were in power. Remember, Israel was supposed to be, in a sense, that God was giving them control. So whoever will come to their nation or to their land, they will be the strangers in this land. So if you're a stranger in this land, then that means that I have rulership or I have government or have whatever word you want to use there. And these are the rules and the regulations in this land. That's what I'm trying to pinpoint.
But all the laws were not bound to the land of Israel. This is like saying I can commit adultery outside the land. That's like saying that. I leave Israel, I can fornicate, I can steal, but I just can't do that in the land of Israel. And God to be okay with that too?
I mean, that's
remember
not,
Jonah tried to pull that. Remember, Jonah tried to run from God outside, and he still showed. God showed him that His word is boundless. It's not regional. That's what the pagans believed, Bleedo. That's why they had city gods and deities. They believed that their gods were regional. They believed that if you left a certain region, the rules that particular deity set up did not apply because his power did not stretch upon that region. That's essentially what you're telling people tonight. Like, yo, in the land, keep the Sabbath. Out the land, that don't apply. That's what you're basically saying.
Listen what I'm saying. That's what it say in the book. It doesn't say. We can go.
Bleedo,
we can go
it
back
does
up
not say
and read.
that. Where does it say in the Bible the Sabbath is only to be kept in Israel, or it only is in the land of Israel?
Listen what I'm saying. Go back up real quick and read verse 9 and verse 10.
Okay, 9 and 10. Exodus 23. Also, thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruit thereof.
Okay, so that's based off the land because they were a stranger. We wasn't strangers today in Egypt in the sense I understand the esoteric to Egypt as well.
Correct. But like I said, Bleedo, not all of the laws. Hold on, Bleedo, but you got to remember what I said. What you're doing is you're taking the law had certain laws that were land based, and you had certain laws that were not land based. What you're doing is you're reading a land based law. No, let me finish. What you're doing is you're taking a land-based law, which you're reading in verse 10. And there are other land-based laws I can walk you through. They're also known as agricultural laws that refer to the seasons and agriculture. What you're doing is you're trying to put all of God's laws in the same category, and that's not how the Hebrews understood it. Because if that is the case, Bleedo, if that's the argument you are making, then you are essentially telling people that there are laws. As long as you're not in the land of Israel, you don't have to keep the law. See, what you're doing, you get to the Sabbath, and you want to make that an agricultural law. That's fine if you want to do that. Let me finish. That's fine if you want to do that. But how does God feel about Bleedo cheating on his wife over here in America? Is God going to be cool with that? Or he going to say, yo, as long as Bleedo ain't doing it in Israel, he cool? What do you think God's going to say?
That's not my point, bro.
I want you to answer that. I know that's not your point. But you're doing that to the Sabbath.
Let me finish though real quick. Like you went to a place, right, and then you put it in context. You said that, okay, the laws was in their heart. And you went to a scripture and you showed where, the laws was in their heart. And I was like, okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're doing. Right, I got what you was doing.
So all I did not say all the laws are universal though.
No, this one saying that.
All of these laws are not universal. You can't forget what I say though. You can't gloss over what I said. If I tell you from the beginning that certain laws you had to be in the land, you had to be certain people. If I tell you that, Bleedo, and you take me to a law, if you take me to a specific law and you say, Josh, this is the law about the Sabbath. Cool. This law was only for the land. You have to show me that it says that. Because I can go to any law in the Bible and be like, oh, it's only for the land. And I ain't got to read nothing. Because that's what you're doing. So show me that the Sabbath day was specifically for Israel's land. That's what I need to see.
Now listen to, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you misinterpret.
Hold on, you went out. Sal.
Like,
can
for
you
example,
Sal?
people
went out. There you go. He back.
Yeah,
you went out for a second.
Yeah, got it though.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, basically what I'm saying is, all I'm doing is, from a literal perspective, I'm just showing you the context. Like, okay, at this particular time, they had a point where they were strangers in Egypt. Now they no longer strangers in Egypt. Okay, so when he gave the Sabbath day, we understand that they didn't have a day of rest. Okay, from the literal physical perspective. So he's telling you 6 days you can work, or 6 days should work be done, but make sure that the stranger, because I don't want you to overwork the stranger the way that the Egyptians was overworking you. Make sure your handmaids and these things have a rest so they can be refreshed from working. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that's the point of the Sabbath from a physical, literal perspective. If we go out and get a job and we work nonstop, like we have labor laws. So the labor laws say, okay, for example, I drive a truck. I can't drive more than 60 hours or whatever in a certain period of time. I have to rest. So this is what I'm saying. So when you talk about a physical Sabbath, everybody has a physical Sabbath that has a job. Okay, the way that the Sabbath is written in the covenant.
No, they don't. No, Bleedo. No, they don't.
It's a labor
you cannot
law.
show. You can show me that everybody has to rest, but every rest mentioned in the Bible is not a Sabbath. What you're doing is you're making the Sabbath and ordinary rest synonymous, and the Bible never does that. The Sabbath is a isolated, special kind of rest. You can't just get rest in general. I can show you many times in the Bible it wasn't the Sabbath day, and people were walking and said they got weary and they took a rest. Would you go there and say, "Oh, that's the Sabbath"? You wouldn't say that. You'll say, "No, dude, was just tired. He just took a rest." That's not the Sabbath. So when we talk about the Sabbath, we talk about the ordained from creation 7th day that you are commanded to do, not a day that Bleedo decides to do or Josh decides to do. I can say right now, I'm not going to work on Sunday. I can make that choice. My job offers overtime all the time. Sometimes it's on Sunday. And I'm saying I'm not going to do that. That's not my Sabbath. That's just me choosing to rest. That's not my Sabbath. I can't have, there's no such thing as my Sabbath.
Right. But your job has to control. Your job has to control on whether they give you a day off or what their schedule is. You can take the job.
But I don't have to listen.
Right, I agree. I'm not saying you do. But what I'm saying is, again, when I said the Sabbath,
what does it got to do with what God ordained? What does it got to do with what God ordained? You're talking about what man is making you do versus what God commanded me to do.
Exactly. So
the two have nothing to do with each other.
Okay, look, the Sabbath was made for man, right?
Yes. For man.
Okay.
Yes.
So we understand, just based off reading what we're reading, we understand that it's to rest from your work. If, let's say, for example, I don't know what you believe with the creation. I don't know your understanding. I don't know your understanding, but let's just say.
From physical exertion. It's the same kind of rest that you will rest any other time. The only difference is it's mandatory. That's the only difference. It's a mandatory rest at a certain time. You have to rest on this day. That's the only difference.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Okay, so if you study, let's just say you study the scriptures or you meditate on the scriptures or whatever, let's say on a Wednesday, and then you do the same exact thing on a Saturday, do you feel the presence of God on a Saturday and not feel the presence of God on a Wednesday? Or I feel the presence of God anytime I open up the book. I feel the presence of God now, Bleedo, with you. As man, you talk about this. But that is not the definition of Sabbath observance. What you're doing is you're making Sabbath observance, meaning me and you sitting down and reading the scriptures together, or me just sitting up in the house one day on a Wednesday reading the Bible. That is not the definition of the Sabbath. The definition of the Sabbath was a mandatory rest day on the 7th day of the week. You cannot get around that. You can't try to tweak that. You can't try to make that mean. He said, don't add to his word. Right.
Don't take away from it.
I'm not, and like I said,
read,
I'm not.
but let me clear something up about the Sabbath before I got to clear this up. Let me read this because you made an error when you said that was in the land. I got to show you that the Bible directly contradicts that, and then I'm going to read it in other translations. This is Leviticus 23. You got to let me get this out, Bleedo, because you just made a blunder when you said that's the land. I'm trying to show you, no, it's not. This is Leviticus 23:3, just to show you that the Sabbath extends beyond the land. I'm going to let you see this. Leviticus 23:3. And I want to read the rest of these. I'll read it. But let me read. You got to let me get this out. It says, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Now, that means wherever you live. But I'm going to read that in other translations just to prove that to you. It's the New International Version. There are 6 days when you may work, but the seventh day is a day of Sabbath rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work. Wherever you live, it is the Sabbath to the Lord. New Living Translation. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath day of complete rest, an official day for holy assembly. It is the Lord's Sabbath day, and it must be observed wherever you live. English Standard Version, right? I'm sorry, Berean Study Bible. For 6 days, work may be done, but the seventh day is to be a Sabbath of complete rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work wherever you live. It is a Sabbath to the Lord. Bleedo, do you live somewhere that can be defined as wherever? Do you live anywhere that can be defined as wherever? Because unless you live nowhere, then you live somewhere that can be defined as wherever. So if he said it's the Sabbath of the Lord wherever you live, if you live in America, that means I have to observe the Sabbath over here the same way the ancient Israelites observed it in Israel. That's one of those laws that extend outside of the land, not the agricultural laws. You're showing agricultural laws that only are bound you to the land. It's good that you see that, because not many people know that, because people try to do agricultural laws over here. Those laws are bound to the land of Israel. But that's why he put that on the Sabbath, so it wouldn't be no misunderstanding. And even though he says that, you're still saying, no, that's just for the land. And your God just you playing, no, it's wherever you live. And I'm in America. So do I keep the Sabbath the way they kept it now? Do I do that? That's the question. Just over in America. Do I do that the way they kept it? Based on what that said, wherever you live. If I was back then, and he said it's the Sabbath wherever you live, and I said I'm going to leave out of Israel, but I'm going to still keep the commandments of God. I'm going to try to still obey this law. Wouldn't that mean that if I came and sailed to America based on that law, I would still have to keep the Sabbath over in America the same way they kept it in Israel? Wouldn't that mean that they say wherever you live? I mean, wherever you at? Come on, Bleedo, I know you see that.
Now, I mean, clearly, I mean, I get you. I mean, your understanding in the sense that you believe you're still under that first covenant. I get it. So I'm not talking about under the first covenant, Bleedo. I'm just saying, what does that mean? That's all I'm saying. We're not getting to what Josh thinks or what Bleedo thinks. We're just getting to what does this stuff mean. Saying, like some people. I mean, listen, what I'm saying. That of course, the first covenant and things of that nature that came with those laws. I'm not here to dispute none of that what you're saying. And as I stated in the beginning, I'm not telling nobody what to do or what to believe or what not to believe. You know what I mean? Like, we're just having a discussion. So what I'm saying is, I want people to look at when they say they keep the Sabbath, you have to understand the purpose of you keeping the Sabbath. And if you're saying that the purpose of keeping the Sabbath is for God, because God is telling them to keep the Sabbath, I differ with you on that. Because
No, right. I didn't say that. I said the purpose of us keeping the Sabbath was because God commanded it, and to rest from exertion, to rest from work.
Right. So
I said that.
What's the purpose?
It's a mandatory day of rest.
Why did God command the Sabbath?
Because he himself rested on the seventh day. That's what it says. And it tells you because you were slaves in Egypt and you didn't get any rest. The Bible gives multiple reasons God gave for why we keep the Sabbath. But the main reason, the first principal reason, goes back to the fact that God himself kept the Sabbath on the seventh day. It's not just a rest in general. It's special. Just like me telling you, I'm on here talking to Bleedo. This is what I'm having a dialogue with. I'm having a dialogue with Bleedo. Is Bleedo a man? Yes, he is. But I can't just get on here and anybody call in and I'm talking to another man and I try to make that man be Bleedo. No, in this case, Bleedo is special. Specifically, dealing with Bleedo. When you deal with the Sabbath, it's a specific rest. You're trying to make it any kind of rest you just happen to take. That's blasphemy, bro.
No,
that's torturing the scriptures. You can't do that.
I never said that. I said that. I said your job. I said you work at your job and your job give you a day off. It's the labor law. The law, the Sabbath at that particular time, and what we just read.
So man determines God's Sabbath now. So my boss determines the Sabbath now. My boss say, Josh, you can't work on. You got to work on Saturday, but I give you Sunday off. So my boss determines the Sabbath now.
Listen to what I'm saying. What does the word Sabbath mean?
The word Sabbath means rest.
Okay,
but it's a special kind of rest.
Okay, listen to what I'm saying. Okay,
that only happens at a certain time.
All right, let me explain real quick. So the word Sabbath means to rest, right? Okay, so
yes, but it's not it's not a general rest. It's not a general rest.
Let me make a point real quick. Let me make a point.
Okay.
Let me make a point real quick. And then I want to go into something else because I don't want to stay on this. But let me make a point real quick. Okay. So the Sabbath. So 6 days shall you work. This is what was given in the covenant. 6 days shall work be done, and the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. Right. So none of your handmaid, maid service, none of that's supposed to work. Now we got why in Exodus 23, so that they can be refreshed, so that they are not overworked. Okay, so from a literal perspective, if I'm looking at this from a literal perspective, I understand that under that covenant, they worked 6 days, or they had 6 days to work, or however you look at it, because some people believe that God created the earth in 6 literal days, and then he rested on the 7th day. So if we was to be like God, we will work 6 literal days, and we will rest on the 7th day. So, I mean, it all depends on how a person view or how they see it. But at the end of the day, it's the Sabbath is connected to working, is what I'm saying. So when I say that a job, which we can see God working even in the creation now, because we have labor laws, man. Now, if we was all in the land today, and let's say we in America, like you saying, and the government was the Levitical priesthood or whatever, and the Sabbath day was Saturday, then okay, I couldn't nobody say nothing to that point, because everybody will have that option or will have that off. It wouldn't be no job could force you to work Saturday if that is what God's day is. And then on top of that, if God rested from the Sabbath day, we will be able to see it actually in his creation. Like nothing in the creation on Saturday stops working. It rains, the grass grows, the birds fly, chirp, all throughout the creation, everything is still in unison with the Creator, and it's still working. So this is why I'm saying that it has something to do with man.
It said God rested on the 7th day. That means he from his creation.
All the work, right?
Yes, from what he's ceasing from, Bleedo. He was ceasing from his creation. He was done creating the universe, right? Then he rested on the 7th day. After that, there is no more mention of God working as far as with the creation and then resting on the 7th day. The Bible tells you that God is constantly performing works all day, every day. But the Bible also lets you know that it is holy and lawful to do good on the Sabbath. God is holy, God is lawful, so he can work on the Sabbath because everything he does is lawful and holy. So I don't have to find God shutting down on the Sabbath. I don't have to find that because God is allowed to work on the Sabbath because he's doing the work of God.
That's what I'm saying, bro. But that's what I'm saying, bro. Like this is only a man. We're only having this discussion based off what man does. I'm saying in the creation, we can see what God commanded man to do. We don't see no. I'm just saying we don't see no. Bleedo,
that don't matter though, Bleedo. It don't matter what you see God doing. What did God tell Bleedo to do? You're like a disobedient child trying to tell your mama or your daddy, I don't see you doing this. I don't see you doing that. It goes by what he told you to do.
Right, but that's not.
What did he tell you to do, Bleedo? What did he tell you to do? That's the question. What did he tell you to do?
Listen to what I'm saying. Because
listen
to what I'm saying.
What did he tell me to do?
I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna answer it while you listen to what I'm saying. If God,
I want to know what he told you to do.
If Saturday is the Sabbath day, I'm gonna just use Saturday. We will have some form of proof in the creation that every Saturday is God's holy day.
That's an assumption. Whoa. Bleedo, that's an assumption. Bleedo, you cannot say that. This is like me saying if there was a God, God would give some kind of proof that he exists. That's an assumption. You can't say that just because somebody believes. Wait a minute. No, you cannot say that, Bleedo. You cannot say that's what you call a hasty, Bleedo. That is what you call a false generalization. What you're saying is just because things are generally shown, that means that if the Sabbath day was any day of the week, God would show that. It's like me saying if God created the world, God would come down and say, yo, I created the world. Bleedo, has God ever came down to you in the person and say, yo, Bleedo, I created the world? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. I mean, not no physical being out the sky, but
like the way I'm talking to you on the phone or the way you talk to a friend on your job. Did God come down and say, yo, Bleedo, this is me, the God of creation. I created the world and then left. Have you ever did that?
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah. Believe it or not, yeah.
So you seen God, the actual God of creation, came down to Bleedo Shumake and said, Bleedo, I am God. I created the world.
Okay, when you say came down, there's scripture.
I mean, the way I'm talking to you, Bleedo, like me and you meet somewhere. Let me explain to you so you don't have to muck it up. You and me go to a restaurant. Hold on, let me finish. I'm going to explain it. Me and you at a restaurant. We meet, just like you see your wife every day. Did God appear to you the way you see your wife in the house? You know what I'm saying. Let's not play games.
No, you
Did God appear to you like that? The way he appeared to the way he appeared to Abraham in Genesis. When he came down with those two angels, Abraham literally saw God, ate with God, begged God not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Did God appear to you in that way and say, Bleedo, I am the God of creation. I created the world? Did he do that?
I'm gonna just bypass that conversation. Come on,
Bleedo, yes or no? Bleedo, did he do that? Come on,
listen.
Did he do that? No, he didn't. No, he did not. I answer for you. No, he didn't. But you still believe he created the universe, though.
Okay, listen real quick. Then I want to change the subject. Listen. The book clearly say that Christ say I and you and the Father and me and I and you and I. You understand what I'm saying? So for me to reject and say that I don't know God or that I've never seen God in the sense, that would mean that I deny the power of the Creator because the power of the Creator is within me. So it does.
Because it tells you in the New Testament. He said, if you love God, who you have not seen,
you got verses that say, my sheep shall hear my voice.
Your brother who you see every day. But Bleedo, I'm saying even the people who wrote the Bible acknowledge that they never saw God. James said, if you love God who you have never seen, how can you love your brother who you see every day? You're not denying the power of God just because you admit you've never seen him in the physical form or you never manifested yourself the way he manifested himself to the prophet. You're not denying him. You're just being honest. Hey, God ain't – everybody on the debate talk to you, listen up. This is Brother Josh. God has never appeared to me in the person and spoke to me. See? Ain't nobody going to call and say, ooh, Josh, you don't believe in God. You denying God. Ain't nobody going to do that because he ain't never done that to them either.
So when Jesus said that, you deny me, you know what I mean, if you see a homeless man in a sense and you turn away from him in a sense like that, that's not seeing God. Like you don't see God in the creation. That's what I'm saying.
In a metaphorical sense.
Conversation, it's not metaphorical. That's real.
Let me tell you what I mean. No. Listen. Let me explain. What you're trying to do is you're trying to make seeing God mean a variety of things when you know what I specifically am talking about. I know that in another sense, Bleedo, let's not do this. I know in another sense, Bleedo has seen God. He sees God in the smile of every baby. He sees God when he sees a puppy being born. He sees God when the sun rises. I get that, but that's not what I'm talking about. And you're being elusive when you know that I'm asking you about a certain way. I'll give you a perfect example. You've seen me on YouTube. Does anybody ever ask you, have you ever seen Brother Josh before? You can answer that in a number of ways. You can say, yes, because you saw me on YouTube before. But you can also say no, because you've never seen me in person. So if somebody comes to Bleedo and specify and say, Bleedo, have you ever seen Josh in person? As far as I know, their answer would be, no, I have not. But you would not sit up there all day long and play semantics with them because you know they specifically mean in a certain way. So therefore, when I ask you, have you ever seen God in a certain way? If you have, say yes. If you haven't, say no. But don't cloud the issue by defining all the different senses in which somebody sees God. Come on, Bleedo, let's not do that.
No, I'm saying
We
I
understand
already.
each other.
Yeah. No, I've seen it, so I mean, I don't know no other way to put it. Now, you know,
I'm just saying. I think if you're saying that's your definition of seeing God, then we've all seen God.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's the case.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I don't outside of the self God, I don't know nothing. You know, in a sense, I don't know too much about that. But the inner God that deals with mankind, I deal with that daily. So that's what I'm saying. So, but I want to look at something. Cool. Let's look at something else.
Yeah, let's move on.
So,
hey, Bleedo, let me ask you something. Do you want to go to the phones first before we move on to get the people time to chime in? Because I usually like to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. That's cool.
All right, we're going to go to the phone lines. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Letter of the Law versus Spirit of the Law. This is a dialogue between Bleedo and Brother Josh. Hopefully you guys take down your notes as always. Again, the number is 319-527-6239. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 845. You're live.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brother Stanley. What's going on, Bleedo? What's going on, Brother Josh? Shabbat Shalom.
Peace, Brother Stanley.
Can you guys hear me?
Shalom, Stanley. I hear you loud and clear.
Oh, praise God, praise God. Well, I think that discussion is an amazing discussion, especially after the debate that Josh had with So Real. I also had a long discussion a couple of Sabbaths ago with my cousin Junior, and he actually made that same point Bleedo made when he was quoting Exodus regarding the 6 days. And we sat there with him, like really trying to break it down to him to show him you're confusing it. You know what I mean? Because he was very specific about the Sabbath. It wasn't just a rest in general, but rather it was a specific kind of rest. And the word rest also, it has different views, ways of expressing it. People think of rest as, being tired from a hard day's work. And they kind of give that impression when you read in the Exodus chapter 20 scripture and the others in 23 as well. But however, if you go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, you're going to realize that the rest he was speaking of is to cease from work. So, to stop something is also to put something to rest. In the court, when they said, okay, the defense rests, that means the defense that is going to stop from making arguments to defend, I guess, their individual that's being defended. So the word rest just simply also means to stop something. If you're doing something and you stop doing it, you rest from doing that. Doesn't mean that you're taking a break as far as relaxing, and no, it's just something you just stop doing something. So I think that point needs to be made clear quickly. And also, there's a couple of points. Oh, Josh, the scriptures you brought forth was amazing, showing in the Old Testament that the spiritual aspect of the law was very well being preached, very well being taught in the Old Testament. So this is, and I know, Bleedo, this is not your position. But I guess it's for people like So Real and others that are listening to it, is very important for them to know that that the idea of the spirit of the law was throughout the entire Old Testament. My understanding clearly is yes. So there's a scripture I want to show in Ezekiel chapter 44. Josh, do you have your Bible ready? Could you read that for me?
Ezekiel 44 and what, Stanley?
Verses 7 to 9. Verses 7 to 9. Could you read that out loud, please? I think it's a very important scripture that I would like to.
It says, "In that you have brought into my sanctuary strangers uncircumcised in heart and uncircumcised in flesh, to be in my sanctuary to pollute it."
So it says
heart
right there,
flesh.
Heart, right? It says the heart and the flesh.
And
this
flesh.
is Old Testament now. Yeah, exactly. This is Old Testament. So it's showing you that the symbolism of the flesh is not, should I say, even though the symbolism is made, the flesh was not should I say, vacated because the heart was mentioned. So the heart and the flesh had to be used simultaneously. It wasn't something that it pretty much saying like just because you're keeping the heart, the uncircumcision of the heart, that means you have to omit the uncircumcision of the flesh. Those two things work together. You know what I mean? So
Stanley, can you do me a favor? Can you give me Jeremiah 9:26?
Right.
And read that, please. These are not New Testament concepts. They started in the Old Testament, and it still meant you don't ignore the physical. But read 9:26. Read that.
It says Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab and all that are in the utmost corners that dwell in the wilderness. For all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart.
Right there.
Hallelujah.
That's what Paul was talking about, and I'm going to read that. Like I said, the concept of the Spirit, being under the Spirit and the law being in your heart, was in the Old Testament first, and it always meant you were keeping the law. That's what Paul was trying to get people to understand. It always meant that. It never meant, now that I understand this, Jesus too. That's why it never meant that once the law is in your heart, that means you depart from the physical aspect of it and start getting creative with it and coming up with your own understanding of what Sabbath observance is and dietary regulations are. That's never what it meant. It means the same thing throughout the Bible. But if you ain't reading it in the Old Testament first, when you get to the New Testament, you really don't know what it means. That's the point.
Can I add to something quick? Hey, do me a favor, Stanley. Read John 1 and verse 4 and verse 5.
John 1.
Well, as a matter of fact, you can start at 3. Read 3 through 5.
It says, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not.
Okay, so in him was the life, and the life was the light of man. What is that? What is your understanding of that?
In him was, I believe, in him was the source. He's the source. He is the source of life, and the light, and the light, meaning I believe knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and consciousness. All of that was it's pretty much is in every man that cometh into the world. Every single one of us has something of God.
Would you say this hymn is referring to Christ, God? What's your understanding of the hymn?
Well, him here is referring to the word, which is Jesus Christ here, because it says in the beginning was the word. It seems like he's the topic here, and the word was with God, in the beginning God the Father, and the word was God, and also he is also God as well. So it says, and the same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. I'm sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So I just want to make it clear that when like people say New Testament concepts, that Christ was from the beginning. So if he's the light of men, when you go back and you read about putting the laws or these laws in the heart, of course, I don't understand like my point.
I'm not saying it's you. I'm not saying it's you. I said because when we say these laws were in man, that means that the power of God, this power that God gave us, that's within us, give us the ability to carry out his duties and his wills. I'm not speaking. I'm not saying. Yeah. Right. I'm not speaking against none of that. But what I'm saying is, when you're looking at the old covenant, and when we're looking at this physical landmass and this physical covenant, these things physically took place, and man rejected God. The same way that man, that's why I say he's the light of the light that shineth in dark places, and darkness comprehended not, because man reject what's already a part of them. Okay. Now I want you to read one more real quick, and then I'll let you go. Okay, because it's something I do want to say though. But okay, what you want me to say? Go ahead. Where you want to go?
I want you to read Luke 11 and verse 52.
52.
Yep.
All right. It says, "Woe unto you, lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered."
Okay. The key of knowledge, well, I'll let you explain it, and then I'll explain what I see when I read that. What do you see here that Jesus is speaking right here in this verse?
You know what? I don't want to tell you what I think about
I can
it.
I can answer it.
All right, go ahead.
I can answer it.
Go ahead.
You just all you got to do is just cross-reference this with Matthew 23 and 13. Look what he says. "But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in." So that's all he meant when he said the key of knowledge. It meant the knowledge to entering heaven. That's all that meant. And the Pharisees
so when he
were
say
stopping
enter
people from getting in.
when he say enter into yourself, what does that mean? He says the lawyers they cause you not to enter into yourself. Now lawyers will be
no. That's not what he said. No. Listen what he said. No, you're reading something. It says, "But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men." That means you lock it up. You prevent men from getting into the kingdom, and they did that through their false doctrine. He says, and because they were hypocrites. "For ye neither go in yourselves," you can't get into the kingdom of heaven, "neither suffer," which means allow, "ye them that are entering to go in." So you're not getting in, and you blocking other people from getting in. That's all this is saying. And if you cross-reference it with Luke 11, that's all it was talking about.
Okay, hold on.
It's the same exact story. The same exact discourse, just worded a little different.
I don't want Sal to cut me off.
No. Hey, Stanley, hold on. Let me make a point, and then I'll let you finish it. Okay. Right. Clearly, he says, in Luke 11, and I'm gonna show you what he's talking about, Josh, in a sense, because you said that they keeping the kingdom from man. Jesus told them also that the kingdom of God is within you. Okay, so if the key of knowledge,
that's one concept of the kingdom. That's one concept of it.
But what I'm saying
that's
is,
not the same one we're talking about entering. That's not the same one. You got
a
kingdom that you enter, and you got a kingdom that's in you. Two different ones.
Oh, okay, if that's what you say. Okay, but I'm saying he's clearly showing, telling the lawyers that they hinder people from going in themselves, right? Because lawyers are the what? Ones who represent the law, ones who are the defenders of the law in a sense, the scribes and the Pharisees, the teachers of the law in a sense, right? So he's telling you here that those who enter in, they have that key to get into that kingdom, which is that kingdom that is within them, because that's where Christ is. That's where God is. You don't have to go outside of yourself and say the Sabbath is on a Saturday or the Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, because you can touch the Sabbath within yourself. This is what Christ is telling us. This is why when you read in Matthew, when he say, if you look at a woman, he's talking to the mind, the inward man. You get what I'm saying? All these things that we talking about is outward. Those things outward does nothing for you. I've kept feast days. I've kept the Sabbath. I've done all that. And inside of me, nothing changed. Nothing changed.
Well, that was you.
Can I say something? Can I say something about that? Can I say something about that, please?
Go ahead.
Bleedo, I think something I just want to just touch on that quickly. That I think what's happening is that you have to understand that both are needed. I think there were many people that did either or. So one can try to keep the law spiritually, and they are like continually. Let's say you find a dude, right, and he's like sexing all these women that are married, and he's just committing adultery. And then you say, "Hey, brother, man, what you doing that for?" He's gonna say, "Well, I'm still keeping the law spiritually. You know, in my mind, I don't meditate on this stuff like that. Physically, don't worry about the outward appearance, because I'm doing my thing outwardly. But you know what? It's not about what you do in the flesh. It's all about the inside, brother. So I know I eat pork. Yes, I know I break the Sabbath. Yeah, I know I commit adultery. Yeah, I know I murder people. But don't think about what I do in the outward. All you got to think about is in the inside. Inside, I'm pure, man. Mentally, spiritually, I meditate. and I look and I still keep the Sabbath because Christ is my Sabbath. So yeah, he's not going to judge me for what I do on the outward. It's what matters in my heart, brother. And then there's another kind of people that actually don't do. They physically keeping the Sabbath, physically tithing, physically doing all those things, but their heart are wicked. They are
exactly like the Pharisees. For instance, they were doing everything,
the Pharisees, it was perfect.
But they were wicked.
Exactly, they were perfect for that. You know what I mean? So what Jesus is trying to say is the publicans, which were physically breaking the law, and their heart, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to get their heart right, and then the Pharisees were physically keeping the law, but their heart was wicked. He said both of them are in need. Both of them are wounded. Both of them are because they both don't understand that both situations are needed. You can't take either or. It's both.
Let me add to that. Okay, so when I say a person into themselves or they meditate, is that a physical act or that just? Do you believe that's just gibberish? Somebody just saying.
I believe that's spiritual. Let me address that. Let me address that. It's spiritual when you say that, but that's not. Hear me, Bleedo. Matthew 23. You're supposed to use the Gospels and cross-reference them. When he said, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees," let me show you this. This is Matthew 5:20. There are two concepts of the kingdom that Jesus spoke about. And what I see that you do is you often confuse and combine the physical with the spiritual. You don't know how to separate the two and be like, okay, this is this, and this in the spirit. This is this, and this in the physical. What you keep doing is you jump to the spiritual and you try to impose the spiritual on the physical, and it's going to create a different physical outcome.
That's not what I was
because you have a different. Well, I'm just saying, but because that's what you're doing, now the Sabbath is no longer resting on the seventh day like it once was. Now the Sabbath is whenever Bleedo decided to kick his feet up or his boss let him get a day off. That was never what the Sabbath was. Not in the new, not in the old. You can't read that. But let me show you this.
You can change adultery laws too doing that. You can change adultery laws doing the same thing.
Now look at this. Now you're going to try to tell me, Bleedo, right here, he's talking about a kingdom in you in Matthew 5:20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. This is talking about a kingdom that's in you. When he's talking about it's a righteousness that you got to go beyond that the Pharisees are doing in order to enter in. That's a contradiction anyway. Either you can't be in the kingdom and the kingdom is in you. That's like me saying Bleedo is in his house or is his house in Bleedo. Which one is it? Those are two opposite concepts. There's a kingdom that's in you, and there's a kingdom that you enter. Those are opposites.
Can I give you guys a perfect example? Can I give you guys a perfect example I was discussing the other day?
Can I be heard?
A perfect example.
Yeah. You can,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say this real quick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said Bleedo had something to say.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you, Bleedo. Yeah.
What I want to say is, Josh, you have again, we're going back to the literal and the spiritual, right? So you had a literal kingdom in a sense because it says the kingdom will be taken by force. So you had a physical kingdom set up. Now you have you have what supersedes the physical, which is a spiritual kingdom, again, which is within you. Is what I'm trying to explain. Now I get it. You might be in the futurist. You're looking for the futurist kingdom and all that. And I ain't here to have that discussion about about prophecies and none of that. But what I'm saying is, if you can see or understand that the kingdom is within you, then that's all you need right there. Because it don't go flesh, spirit, flesh. It don't go physical.
Let me give you something. Let me tell you an example. I think that violates it perfectly, but yet physically the law is actually being kept, but spiritually it's actually being broken. There's a couple.
Exactly.
I saw the video of a couple, heterosexual couple with homosexual spirit. I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. The man, right, is a effeminate man. He's a man. He's dressed like a woman, but it's a man, right? He marries a woman that looks like a man. No joke. He marries a woman that looks like a man. They have a baby together. They're actually a heterosexual relationship. But spiritually speaking, they're homosexual. Why? Because that man is still effeminate and he is only attracted to men-looking beings. It so happened that this female made herself look like a man, so the practice of homosexuality is still being fed in his mind, and vice versa. That woman that's acting like a man, when she's only attracted to females, and it so happens that man is dressed and like a physical female, so which is also feeding the homosexual spirit in her. So it's actually a heterosexual practice relationship with the homosexual spirit. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can keep the law physically and still break it spiritually. So Paul is saying, no, it can't have one without the other. You need them both. Why? Because it is the spirit that created the physical. Think about it. Everything physical in nature was created by a spiritual being. So physical and spiritual has to be one. But this is the thing I wanted to say before I leave, because I know I want to give everybody else a chance to come on. It's the idea of the heart. I think if you understand the heart, then everything will make sense. The heart, in general, is not just a cardiac muscle that you have in your body pumping. The heart is also not just the mind in general, but it's a specific part of your mind. It is called the subconscious mind. You see, when you're studying something, right, let's say if you read it once, if you just read a whole speech once and you have to know the speech and you read it once, most likely you're not going to know it. You have to study it. You have to repeat it because that's how you get to the subconscious. You know, when people say that when you do that, you know it by heart. You have to learn it by heart. That's called memorization.
And do it.
So the script
and do it.
And apply. Like to learn it and to apply it, and then it sticks. You know, so then that's the idea of the heart. The scripture says that that you have to love God with what? All of your heart. That means it's supposed to be into your subconscious by continuous practice, continuous study. You got to know God to that level, to the point where your actions and your lifestyle reflect Him. That's loving God with all of your heart. There's another text that says that that if I in Psalms chapter 119:11, I believe it says that thy word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against thee. So you see, the idea of sinning or acting or breaking the law was contingent upon what was put inside the heart. You know what I mean? So the law hidden in the heart reflects the action or the outward of appearance of reflection. And Jesus had said, I think you quoted the scripture, Bleedo, when you said that he says that it's not what goes into the goes into the body.
Into the mouth, the defiles of a man, but what comes out of the mouth defiles
what comes out of the man
is not into the heart and all the other stuff.
Yes. And he's talking about the heart. And then when he started listening, what was he listening? He was listing physical activity of sin. He was talking about what? The act of uncleanness, adulteries, and all these different things. He was giving you a list of action. He said it's coming out of the heart. The scriptures also say, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So the mind, the subconscious part of the mind, is so important when it comes to physical. Everything that you do physically, it has to first dwell in the subconscious part of your heart, the mind. So everything. So if you tie in the law of God within that portion, then you don't even need to watch the physical law anymore, because the physical law will be applied naturally when you're living.
Exactly.
So and it's a reference point. And one more text, and I'm out of here. Jesus was talking about the Sabbath, right? And he was talking about mercy over sacrifice. If you read Hosea chapter 6, verse 6, he referenced it twice. He referenced it in Matthew chapter 9, verse 13, and also in Matthew chapter 12, verse 7. All right? And in both cases were Sabbath issues. In one case, they were plucking corn in the Sabbath, and Pharisees and the religious leaders had said, is it unlawful? Isn't it unlawful for you to be doing this on the Sabbath? He replied with a question. Wasn't it also unlawful for David to give of the showbread, to take of the showbread, which only belongs to the priest? Or isn't it also unlawful for the priests to be doing what they do on the Shabbat, on the Day of Atonement? You know, when they kill the animals and they do their things on the sanctuary. He said, and they defile it. These things are unlawful, but yet it is not sin. There's a difference. There were situations where Rahab lied, which is against God's law. But the spiritual of the law at this exception was to save lives. You see, like you mentioned earlier, stop sign. A stop sign, if a cop says you can keep going, the stop sign at that point is not necessary to keep. The law of the word of the officer superseded that. The law of love in many cases is going to supersede or exception to the physical aspect of the law. But at the same time, it's not saying that's normal activity. Normal activity is you got to keep the physical or the letter of the law. However, the spiritual of a law at certain situations may supersede the letter. But it doesn't, exceptions to the rule does not make it the rule. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up because they use these little exceptions and they try to say, well, you see here, so what? Does it mean that God supports lying? So what?
Exactly.
These are exceptions. You know what I mean? Yeah, he murdered Goliath, but that was war. That was a different situation. It's not general because he wasn't down with him murdering Uriah. So why would he get mad about him murdering Uriah, but he was all cool with murdering thousands and thousands of Philistines? You know what I mean? So there were different situations for different calls, and I hope I made my point. I think I vomited everything out, and I hope it was made clear. But it's a great discussion. Bleedo, Josh, great discussion. I think it's very important. I hope everybody is being blessed as well as I am right now.
Hey, Stan the man. Yo, we appreciate it. For those who don't know, Stanley is actually the brother that set the tone, the first special guest and debater on Debate Talk Radio. So, you know, it's good to always hear him come back on and bring us information, man. That's my brother right there, man. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Sal.
All right, my brother. All right, y'all want to take some more callers? Y'all want to continue dialoguing? What y'all want to do?
Let's get a few more in because, you know, Stanley, you know, he only had he had a good amount of time talking. I know a lot of people have been patiently waiting, so let's get a few more in. So if that's okay with you, Bleedo. That's okay with you.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with it.
Okay.
Take a couple more.
All right. We all must agree. Let's go to the next person. Let's go to 224-636. You are live.
Yo, Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
How you doing? This is Aaron. How you doing, Bleedo? So I had a question for Bleedo. So basically, I caught most of the show. I just want to make sure
before we go into that. Hold up. Before you go in, what's your name, brother? Where you from? Go ahead.
Aaron. This is Aaron. Aaron, I'm from Chicago, but I live in Florida.
Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
All right, no problem. So like I said, I caught most of the show. I just want to make sure I'm clear on your position, Bleedo.
Okay.
So, are you of the position that the spiritual aspects of things kind of nullify the law?
No.
Or the observance of the law?
The physical? Are you saying the letter of the law? Like, for example, Saturday Sabbath?
Right, yeah. Some people say Christ is the Sabbath now, so they don't have to observe Sabbath no more.
Well, me personally, I don't tell nobody what to do. You know what I mean? I'm not God, so if a person perceive today or tomorrow to be the Sabbath, then you know they got every right to believe that way. So I don't tell nobody, you know, whether they right or they wrong in a sense. As far as what I do, like do I believe in that? If I actually work tomorrow, so I got to, you know what I'm saying. So I'm a provider, so I'm gonna go to work tomorrow and continue to provide for my family. You know what I mean? So I just put it like that.
Right, but do you feel like you have to, or you should, do your best to observe the Sabbath?
Not in the physical. I mean, I get a day of rest in a sense, but the Sabbath to me is could be obtained through meditation, which is why I find true rest as far as my inner man or my inner being. That's why I find that true rest at. So I still observe that rest as much as I can to keep my mind clear, keep my mind clean in the sense to keep my thoughts and spirits on the Creator. I don't just say it's just one day, like, oh, I'm gonna just give one day to God. Like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can meditate or I can go within myself anytime, like, depending on the, how I feel or whatever in the sense, or how the Spirit leads me.
Right, I got you. If you could answer the next question, like a yes or no. When you do you eat kosher?
Kosher.
The reason why I asked is because of Acts 15 when it talks about the three things that Paul told the Gentiles.
I like my diet. I barely eat meat. Like I've been a vegetarian on and off. So if kosher is like eating meat or whatever, I would say I don't eat. Yeah, I barely eat meat like that. I might eat some chicken or whatever, something like that. But I try to stay away from. I'm back trying to stay away from eating animals.
Right. So the reason why I ask is actually I'm gonna ask one last question. Then I'm gonna make my last comment. Do you, when you go swimming or when you go to the beach, do you wear a T-shirt or do you just wear your shorts?
I don't go to no beach. I'm from, you from Chicago. It ain't you go to a beach, you liable to get into it and then all that in the beach. So I don't go to a beach.
All right. Well, what if you do go to the beach or to the pool?
Are you gonna
wear a T-shirt or no?
I don't swim. So, it's kind of hard to answer that question. I'm not into the water, but I mean, yeah, I probably would wear. I probably would. I don't know. I don't swim, so I can't answer that question. I don't wear bathing. I don't know about all that.
All right, no problem. You see, I dialogue with other Christians as well, and the problem that I feel like I keep running into, and it just seems to me that a lot of Christians that don't observe the law, they're tap dancing around a lot of things, a lot of issues. The reason why I brought up the kosher meat and taking their shirt off at the beach is because these are concepts we see in the New Testament, which I feel like, Christians generally don't make sure that they observe. And for me, I think it's that Christians have a problem with following rules. And this is why they love being so-called led by the Spirit, because it kind of allows you to go off your own emotions or your own opinion on what you should be doing. And so I just want to make that comment because I've dealt with this with another Christian, and it seems to me that he's kind of tap dancing, and I feel like you're kind of doing the same thing because we're all supposed to be modest, and if we don't wear a T-shirt at the beach, that could make another female sister stumble and entice her to lust after a male.
Okay, let me respond to you real quick. That's right. Like totally different than what I'm talking about, because what I'm talking about deals with the mind and the way that you think, because again, the Creator dwells in you and mankind. So when you talk about causing somebody else to stumble, I have no control over nobody else. I only have control over me. So now if that person, if I did go to the beach or whatever, I'm a skinny dude, so ain't nobody gonna look at me. I got a bird chest. They gonna look right past me. So, but if I did have muscles and all that or whatever, and I wanted to take my shirt or whatever it may be, if that person lusting after me, that has nothing to do with me. You can go to the book of James, which I was going to read, and it says that every God tempt no man with evil, for every man is drawn away in his own lust. So if that woman lusts after me, that has nothing to do with me. You understand what I'm saying? That's her mind, and that's how she thinks. So if she understood the power of God that was within her, then maybe she'll be able to control certain aspects of her life. And then at the same time, that a female being attracted to a male is something that's a natural instinct that was given to mankind. You can't tell me that you don't look at another woman and may think she looks okay or she may look beautiful. How can she cause you to stumble in any aspect of that if you look upon her and you know in your mind not to act out on that thought?
Right. Have you ever had a situation where...
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, Bleedo, the Bible mentions several times that you can cause somebody to stumble. Paul said that was one of Paul's main sermons, that he put out in one of his lessons. He said that about abusing his liberties. You can do something to cause somebody to stumble. In fact, in the law, and based on the law, it said thou shalt not. It does have something to do with you. If Paul said he can cause his brother to sin, which Paul said that.
Let's go to that verse and find out the context of what was being spoken of.
Okay, let's get it. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's get to that. Because taking your shirt off at the beach is crazy.
I'm not talking about taking no shirt off at the beach. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about. All I'm talking about is you being impossible to make somebody to stumble. That's all I'm saying. Romans 14:21.
Don't get me wrong. You could be a Satan in the sense to somebody. You could whisper something in somebody's ear, or put thoughts in their mind or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, if they have that, if they have this spirit in them, they won't. You wouldn't have the power to even do it. Same way with Peter told Jesus, "You shall not surely die," and things of that nature. And Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan," because he had the power. He understood in his mind, no matter what you say, this is the will of God, and these things are going to be carried out no matter what you say. So when you have the mind of God, or the spirit, or the law, or whatever you want to call it, of God, then you have power within that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. It's like it's more than just something that we can read. This is actually something that's obtainable. It's something that's real. It's something that it's not just in a book. He's saying Christians as if, I don't know why you say these Christians like that. I get it. Everything has an opposite, bro. If you was a former Christian, now Christian is your enemy now. Everything has an opposite. If somebody was a believer, now he's an unbeliever. So now he's the opposite of you. So now you debate and argue with him. It's levels to life, and there's wisdom to life. And it goes beyond just the surface of the pages of a book. This is what I'm trying to explain. The God law that's within you, it comes with wisdom and power. It goes beyond just, me reading and understanding the Bible. So I just wanted to say that.
Right, but all I was saying, I wasn't talking about you wearing a T-shirt at the beach. What I was just talking about that the Bible makes it clear that, and we can go on to the next call after this, because we ain't really got to just dwell on that. All I was saying is that the Bible makes it clear that there are things we can do that will cause somebody else to sin, and we are responsible for that. And I can bring that out later, but I just want to go on to the next caller. That is on you. In other words, there is something you can do, Bleedo, that can be on you.
You could. Jesus said there are many shall come in my name and deceive many. So you could be a deceiver. You know what I'm saying? A deceiver person in a sense. So I was speaking more. I was speaking more so on his point of going to the beach, taking your shirt off. That's what I was talking about. I'm not saying
there are things that you can do. But there are things that you can do that you're not trying to do. You're not trying to deceive nobody. You're not trying to hurt anybody.
That ain't got no
liberty.
I understand what you're saying.
It does.
It
does. I'm gonna show you that.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you that. I'm saying there are certain things you can do. The Bible says that. You're not trying to cause nobody to stumble. It's a liberty, meaning it's something you are free to do, but it can cause somebody to stumble. That's all I'm saying. I bring that out later.
So basically, you saying if I tempt somebody to eat some chicken, if they are like a vegan or a vegetarian, and I walk up and I'm tempting them to eat some meat or something like that, and I call them to stumble when they eat the meat or whatever, you saying something along those lines?
Well, no, not them eating the meat, but them being offended at you eating meat and thinking that eating meat in and of itself is wrong, and you're supposed to be trying to win them to Christ, and they see you eating meat, and you know that that's something that they're weak at. So you're supposed to not eat meat.
Oh, okay.
I
got you.
So that's you causing that. That's what I'm saying. But you're causing that, and that's not the only place where that's an example of that. But I just want to get to the next caller because I want to get to the many people we can because we ain't really dealt with the key issues about the spirit and the letter. We ain't read one of the. Well, you started to read it, but I want to expound on it. So we can go. Let's take a few more calls.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I know Antoine's on the line with you. Antoine, you want to ask any questions?
No, I don't.
All right, cool. All right, let's go to the next person. The number's 319-527-6239. Let's go to 443-815. You're live.
Hey, Sal Showtime. This is Brother Mercy.
Lord have mercy.
So. Yeah, hey, Josh. I feel for you, man. I feel for you, Josh. I'm going to say this. The word "of" means from, and if you look at it, maybe in that context, that might help Bleedo. The spirit from the law, because people forget that God gave the law, and God is spirit. So if you had the spirit from the law, if you had that spirit, you would understand the blasphemous things that you're saying, Bleedo. If you really had that spirit, you would understand that what you're saying is so off base. Like, for example, it's not just about resting. It's the fact that God rested, and he just didn't take a break, bruh. He finished all of his work. That's why he became Israel. He told them, you will never enter my rest because of their unbelief. You will never enter my rest. Why? Because you're never going to finish working. And the fact that you use an employer's example is so offensive, bruh, because that came from an employer, not from the Most High. I mean, the source of it. So you got to understand the source of the law. And if you don't acknowledge the source of it.
I don't want to cut you.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
Hold on.
Let me finish. Well, then you say you don't want to, then don't. If you don't want to, then don't cut me short. Okay.
I want to say this though because I don't want to forget my thought real quick, and I know you're gonna keep you kind of long winded.
No, I'm almost finished.
Okay.
All I'm trying to say is once you acknowledge the source of the law, then you have to be obedient to it. So once you say, well, God gave the law, then you need to understand that he set the example. And then one more thing, and that is that he finished his work. With your employer, you never finish. You never finish anything. You just taking a break and going back to work. That's not what he wants for us. He don't always want us to have masters and just take breaks and going back to work like a general rest. No, he told Israel, you will never enter my rest. So my point is this, real simple, is that when you talk about the Sabbath and many of the laws Josh talking about that are universal, I mean, bruh, we gotta have a little bit more respect for God's law. And the only time it kills, when it says a letter killeth, the reason why the letter kills is because Israel in many ways had divorced themselves from God's spirit. So that's what I wanted to say on that.
That's exactly what that means. The letter killeth.
All right, now cool. Now let me say this. Who gave you this calendar you got?
Who gave me what calendar?
Who you
talking about the calendar we follow? You talking about the Roman calendar? Is that what you talking about?
Yeah, I'm asking.
The Romans. It came from the Roman calendar. It came from the Romans.
Okay, so that's not God. That didn't come from God. Then if it came from the Romans, it came from a man. So therefore, you telling me to follow what a man, or you telling me?
I'm not talking about a calendar, brother. I'm not talking about a calendar. I ain't saying nothing about no calendar.
Listen.
I ain't saying nothing about no calendar, brother.
Okay, listen. You said I'm being.
I ain't saying nothing about no calendars.
Okay, listen. Let me finish.
You just said the Sabbath. You didn't say nothing about no calendar.
Wait, I didn't say nothing about a calendar.
Okay, so how do you keep the Sabbath, and what day you keep the Sabbath on?
On the seventh day, brother.
I don't feel like playing.
What is today? You tell me what today is.
Real fast.
Answer my question.
I don't feel like playing. Listen, I don't feel like playing, bro. So I listen to you.
Okay, but what is today?
Listen, bro. Listen.
I'm asking you a simple question.
Listen, bro. Listen. I'm asking you a question, bro. I like I say, I'm gonna be calm, but I just need you to answer this question. What day do you keep the Sabbath on?
I already answered that question.
I didn't hear it.
I said the seventh day.
The seventh day.
When is that?
The seventh day is the seventh day of the week, brother.
When is that, bro? I don't have time.
You can't trap me, brother. You can't trap me.
I'm not trying.
I think you mean in real time.
A simple question, bro.
I think you mean in real time. Like, is it today? Is it tomorrow? I think that's what he's asking you.
What are you talking about?
Is it tomorrow? That's what he's asking you. Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it 2 days from now? He's asking you when is the seventh day, and what do you use?
Hey, Josh,
you use to count 1 to 7? That's what he's asking.
Yeah, can I speak? Can I speak for a minute? Hey, Josh, all you gotta do with a brother like this, is ask him simple questions. Just ask him real simple questions. Maybe he can't answer. Maybe he won't answer me. He'll answer you. Ask him what day today is. That's all you gotta ask him. What is today? What is today? You tell me what the day is.
You asking me to say that, or you asking him?
Yeah, anybody. I don't care. You tell me what day it is.
Today is Friday, and according to the Gregorian calendar,
I'm talking. No. You ain't gotta do all that. You ain't gotta do all that. You ain't gotta do none of that.
Today Friday.
Today, the simple answer. What's today, Bleedo? I'm about to trap in your own argument. What is today, Bleedo?
That's why I said sure, bro. Because I we talked before, so I don't feel like playing, man. That's why I'm asking. I just asked a simple question. I'll answer your question. I have no problem with answering your question at all. This is why I asked you, can you just answer my question? Then we can build. I don't have a problem with saying today is Friday. I don't even got to say the Gregorian calendar. I don't have to say none of that, bro. I'm asking you a question. You said God, bro. You brought God and said this is God's Sabbath. All I'm asking you is how did you come to the conclusion of God's Sabbath day? That's all I'm asking you. Did God tell you today the Sabbath day? Where did you get the knowledge of today being a Sabbath day? That's all I'm asking you, bro. And if you tell me that you got it off this man's calendar, then you got your Sabbath from man and not from God. That's all I'm saying.
But you're wrong, brother.
I'm not
because
wrong.
before there was a calendar, he rested on the seventh day, brother. Before there was even a calendar.
Bleedo, are you saying that it's impossible to know what the seventh day is? Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is you could, just like I just said about Israel and establishing a government, you got a land, you got a calendar. I'm not saying nothing about none of that stuff.
But it's Friday over in Israel right now, though. It's Friday over in Israel right now.
I'm not
saying Saturday. They always overlap.
Yeah, and I'm not okay. So when the land was desolate and there was no time, there was no calendar or no man to count any days over there. How did they know what day it was? Like, I mean, I don't. But there was never a point in Israel's history. There was never a point in Israel's history. I'm just saying for the reference. There was never a point in Israel's history where they couldn't determine the Sabbath. I'm just letting you know that there was never a point in Israel's history where they couldn't determine the Sabbath or the Sabbath. So in the history of Israel, when Jesus said that you will be led away captives and Israel will be destroyed as a nation of people, that never happened?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it happened, but that did not make them forget. But let me finish. Let me answer the question. But that did not make them forget what day of the week. Bleedo, if I came over your house right now and knocked you upside the head and took you into slavery, would you forget what day of the week it is? Would you forget how to count the days of the week?
Hold on. When you say they, but listen what I'm saying, though. When you say they did not forget, we can't speak for them because we wasn't there. So you can't say.
No, what I'm saying is, Bleedo. What I'm saying is, I don't mean it like that, Bleedo. What I'm saying is, if you go into slavery, like we were slaves over here in America, there is no documentation of a slave forgetting what day of the week it was, regardless of what calendar they were going off of, unless they were just out in the woods for an undetermined period of time. Somebody in that civilized area was able to bring them back and be like, yo, I might be in the woods, unconscious. I wake up, hey, what day it is? I go to the city. I pick up a newspaper. Somebody can tell me that. So through their journeys and travels, no matter where they went, they were keeping up with what day of the week it was. Because the days of the week coincide everywhere on the planet. Everywhere on the earth go by a 7-day week. So wherever they were, yes, whatever government they were under, it had a 7-day week. But that's no accident. Why do you think all over the world, no matter where you go on this planet, the entire world lives by a 7-day week? And this before there was a Roman Empire, before there was a Greek Empire, before there was a Babylonian Empire, before an Egyptian Empire. Every planet in every civilization in ancient antiquity went by a 7-day week. And there's no coincidence that we still have a 7-day week today.
That's not true,
but whatever day that is, yes it is. I got the receipt, bro. I got the receipt.
Listen what I'm saying.
But we go to the next call. We ain't got to get off of the next. We ain't got to get off of the next.
That's a whole other conversation.
There's a whole other conversation. But I was just answering the question that's the short way that Mercy was trying to get at. That's what he was trying to go.
No, Mercy don't want to be real. I don't got time for fake people, man. Like if he can't come on here and say that he go off the calendar and today the Sabbath day for him, then he don't got no purpose in saying anybody blaspheming anything when he can't stand on his own too and be a man and speak the way he's supposed to speak. I ain't trying to talk to nobody like that, man. Like you gonna be a man.
That's between you and Mercy.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Don't come on trying to play and dodge and laugh and all that, but you can't answer a simple question. They don't want to ask questions. No, go on with that, man.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio.
Season 9 finale. Season 9 finale. Debate Talk for You. The number's 319-527-6239. I see we got like three more people that's standing by, and after that, whenever you guys are ready to get back into the conversation, just let me know.
Take one more. I'm cool with one more.
Take one more. Okay.
It's up to Josh. It's Josh cool with it.
Yeah, that's cool, Brito. One more. We'll do one more.
Let's do it. Let's go to 323. You're live.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Yes, no. I got the brother from Debate Talk for You. You gave me your number because I was trying to set a debate up, but I lost it, bro. Somebody stole my wallet.
Somebody stole your wallet, brother?
I just want to get the number because I'm getting close to setting up the debate again. I'm getting real close to getting the debate going. I just need your number so I can give you a call when I'm ready.
I ain't going to put my number on the air right now. I'm going to write your number down. Okay, hold on.
Can you text it to me, bro?
Yeah, and I'm going to text it to you. Yeah, I just wrote it down. I got you, my brother. I got you.
I thank you.
So I'll text it to you. No problem.
I thank you, sir.
Yeah, brother's calling the phone line. Yeah, man.
Trying to get in.
Yeah, man. All right, let's go to the next person. Let's go to 817-532. You're live.
Shalom. Can I be heard?
Yes, you're live.
All right, peace, peace, Bleedo, peace, Josh. It's good to hear people dialoguing instead of going at each other's necks. But I had a quick question for Brother Josh. You read Deuteronomy chapter 30, I believe, earlier.
Okay, who is this, by the way? I don't recall you introducing yourself.
Oh, this is Brother Blue. I'm sorry.
Brother Blue, out the mid-blue. What's up, man?
How you doing, brother? Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about because I think it's a good dialogue. I think y'all are just missing each other and what each other's saying. But you read earlier Deuteronomy 30 where it says something about the law being in your heart, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And you said according to the context, basically they were talking about the law of Israel or the law of Moses, should I say, correct?
The actual, literal Torah 613 law, yes.
Yeah. And what I think Bleedo is trying to point out is something that correlates to that verse, which is Romans chapter 10. I don't know,
yes,
Bleedo, can you get Romans 10?
Yes, I got you. With that. Where it substitutes Christ there. It said Christ ascended into heaven to bring Christ down. I'm familiar with what you're talking about.
Yes. And so that's basically what I think Bleedo is trying to bring out, where at one point you could read the Old Testament and it will say, the literal 613, but the way Paul interpreted it, or the New Testament interprets it, is that Christ within you. And so,
yes, but that wasn't what Deuteronomy 30 meant back then. Christ became the physical manifestation of the law, a representative, a symbol, just like he was the Passover lamb. We know he wasn't the actual lamb. See, people like y'all get what is known as lost in the metaphor. Look up that term so you can understand what that means, getting lost in the metaphor. Getting lost in the metaphor is when you see the metaphor and you take it further than where the metaphor actually intends to go. When it said Christ is the Word of God, it did not mean he was that word being spoken of back then. Those were actual words that come out of somebody's mouth. You understand? Those actual words that you wrote on some paper. But when he became the Word, what that simply means was he was a symbol of the Torah because he lived it. And like if I tell Blue, to me, you are a messianic type. I'm not saying you are the Messiah. I'm just saying you got messianic attributes, and I can go as far as saying, this dude the Messiah. They'll say, Josh, you blaspheming. No, I don't mean he's the Messiah in the Torah, prophesied in the Torah. I'm just saying he got so many attributes of the Messiah. That's the nickname I gave him. He's a symbol of that. So when Paul wrote that, Paul was piggyback off the idea in John. In the beginning was the Word, the Word was God, the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh. Jesus is just a physical representation of how you're supposed to observe Torah law. He observed it so perfectly that they literally start calling him the Word itself. That's all it means. If you take it any further than that, you're getting lost in the metaphor.
But I understand what you're saying. But then, if you're saying I'm getting lost in the metaphor, then you would have to say Paul is, because Paul, all I'm doing is quoting Paul's words. I haven't said anything.
But Paul didn't get lost in the metaphor. Paul told you that Jesus was a literal man that died on the cross. He told you that. Paul did not think that Jesus was a literal walking, talking book or scroll or stone tablet. All he was trying to tell you is that this man represents the Word. How have you been lost in the metaphor? Because this man represents perfect Torah observance.
What I'm saying is that
that's not the purpose so you saying the purpose of Jesus was to come on the earth, walk, and to show everybody they keep 613 laws and then die and then go back to heaven.
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that. I did not just say that. I said he kept Torah observance perfectly. Do all 613 laws apply to Jesus? No, because Jesus was not a Levite. Jesus was not a woman. Okay. Jesus was not a king during the time he was here on the earth. So, no, only the universal moral laws he kept perfectly, not the whole 613. But he's also called the Word of God because he represents obedience. By actually doing it. By physically doing it. What do you mean how? He actually did it. He actually kept the Sabbath. He loved his brother. He fed the hungry. He healed the sick.
But how
he did not murder anybody. He did not lie.
Let me say this. Exactly. And how he did it was by, this is why his people confuse Christ with his last name. He did it by that Christ, by that anointing. And this is what he's pointing everyone to, that is within you, that is close to you, if one could tap into it. And so
ain't nothing inherently in us that's good, dude. The book say the heart of man is desperately wicked. Who can know it? So God has to put something in you. You don't tap into nothing in you. That's some old Middle East Hindu, Indian concept where it's in you. God has to put it.
That's not.
God put His Spirit in you, Blue.
I understand.
That's what makes you right. Blue ain't gonna just look in itself and get right. That's not how it works.
Let me just speak real quick.
We wouldn't even need any Bibles or Qurans or nothing if it worked like that. Everybody would be here to do it.
I understand. You need a teacher to show you this, and that's why Christ said the kingdom is within you. He didn't say expect it to come out the sky, expect it in the east or expect it in the west. He said it is
There's
within
only one concept of the kingdom. Why do y'all do this? Blue, why do y'all do this?
Hold on. Why do you keep cutting me off, brother?
Hold on. Why do y'all act like Jesus? Because we talked about this. And y'all trying to act like this thing is one-sided. You the type of person that read one thing Jesus said and dwell on that. Jesus did not just speak about a kingdom being in you. Jesus spoke about a kingdom coming. He also spoke about a kingdom he was going to, that he would leave and go to. Did he not? That's not the same kingdom. You can't have a kingdom inside of you and be in a kingdom. Those are two different kingdoms. You don't understand that that Goliah can't be inside his house and Goliah's house be inside him at the same time.
You can be if you like.
That's a contradiction.
No.
It's physically possible. Hold on, wait. Y'all heard him? It's physically possible for you to be in your house and your house in you at the same time.
Brother, I don't come to debate.
Just answer that first. Just answer that first.
Listen.
Just answer that first. Is that physically possible for you to be inside something and something inside you?
Yes.
Give me an example of that.
Let me give you an example.
Hold on, but
let me give you an example.
I want him to give me a physical example if you can be inside something and something be inside you at the same time.
Well, first of all, he's not talking about a physical thing when he says something that is within you. That's your first problem with what you're trying to compare.
Okay, I didn't say that.
Well, you're trying to compare apples to oranges. Well, you're saying, is it possible for you to be in a house and the house to be in you? But what's being conveyed is not something physical. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's what you're
I'm not talking about, Bleedo. I'm not talking about that, Blue. I'm talking about Jesus spoke of, hear me, because y'all don't listen. There are two concepts. Let me talk slow. There are two concepts of the kingdom that Jesus spoke of. One kingdom was a kingdom in you. Another kingdom was a kingdom you had to enter. He wasn't talking about you entering yourself. because he made this synonymous with a kingdom he would go to. He said, I go and prepare a place for you. When you say the Lord's Prayer, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. But in another scripture, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven comes not by observation, where somebody says, look, here it is, or there, here it is. These are two different concepts of the kingdom. No, it's not. You got two.
I know, but I don't want to argue with you about that. It's fine.
Then get off the phone.
Listen, I just want to make a point. I don't know why we're arguing. I have been peaceful the whole time. I don't know why you're arguing. Let me just make a point, man.
You're saying you don't want to argue, but you're disagreeing.
Can you make a point,
Josh?
Listen, it's okay. It's okay for you to have a different perspective. It's okay for you to have a different perspective of the king.
But Bleedo, here's the point. If I'm telling him, Bleedo, if I'm telling him, Bleedo, Bleedo, if I'm telling somebody, but Bleedo,
who's pretty much calling with like a similar view as me. So I mean I've dealt with other callers who disagree with the way I presented certain things, and I sit there and I had to listen to them and I had to address them. I'm just asking whether Blue agree with me or not. Can he at least make a point? So maybe I can feed off of his point. Maybe he can put something out there that I may not be saying the right way or something. I think he have the right to make a point. Now, if Josh disagrees with his point, that's cool. But can he at least have the floor to make the point? We gave Stanley like 30 minutes. He disagreed with me.
He did make the
cool.
But he did make the point. Yes, he did. He asked me about the kingdom.
I think I'm about to leave.
He asked me about the kingdom. He asked about the kingdom, right?
Before I finish, you cut me off.
I said there are two concepts of the kingdom. What you said after that was, no, it's not. And then you turn around and say, I'm not here to argue. If I tell you something that I believe and you disagree, the argument is a disagreement. You said you're not here to argue. So the moment I told you there are two concepts of the kingdom, what you should have said was, okay, I'm not here to argue. I'm not going to argue that. And that should have been it. But you disagreed and you're trying to make it still be one thing, and you're arguing, but you're saying you're not arguing. If you want to disagree, say I'm here to call in and disagree with something you're saying, Josh, but don't try to say I'm not arguing and all you're doing is arguing. Just be real about it. That's all I'm saying. Then make your point. But you keep calling in this false humility and you're cutting, you're swinging a sword, but you're saying you're coming in peace. Just say you don't agree.
Yeah, let me just speak real quick. All I brought up was Deuteronomy 30 and applied it to Romans chapter 10 and said, Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. Every time I spoke, you cut me off. But let me just make this point. Y'all are speaking about the letter and the spirit, right? And you would agree that the New Testament speaks mostly about the spirit. Would you agree with that?
Are you asking me? Or are you asking me?
Yes, Josh.
Yes, the New Testament speaks more of the spiritual aspects of the law. Yes, it does.
Okay, and so also I believe in that same chapter I referenced, Romans 10, it says basically that the end or Christ is the goal of the law, correct?
Yes, the telos, that's in the Greek. That means aim or point. That means the law points you towards Christ.
Exactly.
Yes.
And just as Paul said in Galatians that the law is a schoolmaster to bring you to this Christ, right? And that's what, like, even the Sabbath day, right? I heard y'all arguing about the Sabbath day. One is just a symbol of, the symbol is never the actual thing, right? So the Sabbath day, of course, I'm not telling nobody not to keep it because it tills the ground in order for this Christ to be received. You understand what I'm saying? So when this Christ is received, then you understand what Hebrews 3 and 4 is saying about this Sabbath that is, or my rest that is to come. You understand? What rest is that talking about? It's talking about the kingdom. We would all agree. Whether we think it's in the future or here present, we know it's this Sabbath is referring to something greater. And that's all Bleedo's trying to say about the Spirit, is that is the greater. And so
I agree with that. You want to hear me the whole time? I agree with that when he first went there. So why you just saying Bleedo like you didn't hear me say the same thing and agree with him? You said it's all Bleedo saying like you want to hear Bleedo say that.
I'm not.
I asked the question. I said, why are you saying that like you didn't hear me say? Because somebody might be listening in, just tuned in now, and they hear you say that, And they get the impression that only Bleedo said that. When you know you heard me, if you were listening the entire time and Bleedo was the witness, you know you heard me say that. That's being deceitful because you acting like you didn't hear me agree with him on that and even say the Sabbath points toward something future to come. Bleedo heard me say that. So when you call in and say that's all Bleedo is trying to say, you're creating a false narrative that if I didn't say that or he said it and I disagreed with it. So keep it kosher, bro. Don't do that.
Yeah,
if you heard
listen,
me agree with him, say, well, you said the same thing, Josh.
Okay,
listen,
that. I don't.
But don't make it sound like only
listen.
you said that.
All right, brother. I don't remember if you said it or not. If you said it, I apologize for not saying it. Nobody's trying to. I know nobody's trying to attack your character or make a false narrative about you, man. It's not about trying to attack you. I'm just coming to speak.
I'm just saying.
All right.
I'm just saying, but you're speaking as if only one person said something. Me and Bleedo is talking about adultery being wrong, and we chopping it up, and you hear us both saying adultery is wrong. You don't call in on 2 hours later and say, the point Bleedo is trying to make is that adultery is wrong. Like you ain't heard me say it with him 100 times. I don't appreciate that. I think that's being deceptive. I think that's trying to throw people off. That's what I believe. Right. Now you can take it any way you want it.
All right, brother. Y'all be at peace, man. Peace, Josh. Peace, Bleedo. Peace, Thank you for the time, man.
Yo, Bleedo, just like you felt like Brother Mercy was playing games, I feel like he's playing games.
Okay.
But that's between me and him. Just like I said, that's between you and Brother Mercy.
Yeah, I ain't getting into that, man. I just wanted him to be able to make a point, though. Yeah, that's all. I mean, Brother Mercy
all right,
got
fellas.
the flow.
Y'all can continue the dialogue, fellas. And by the way, we have like 14 minutes on the air, so we definitely go into the overtime part of the show, if need be. So now have to call in before that time runs out. 319-527-6239. Continue, fellas.
All right, cool. I'm going to go a little longer. I don't know if I could do the whole forever because I got to work in the morning. But I want to, let's see, if we can start this like this. Let's go to Colossians real quick, Josh. Can you go to Colossians chapter 1, verse 27?
Yeah, I am there. You ready for me to read?
Hold on, let me make sure that's the right verse. Matter of fact, let's go to verse 26 and then we'll do 27.
You want me to read 26 and 27?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. Even the mystery which have been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints. 27. To whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory.
What's your take on that?
On which part of it? The whole thing? You want to break down the whole verse?
The mystery part and the Christ in you. Because I was gonna go to where Blue kind of went with that Romans and where he went to, in Romans 10, I believe that was where it says Christ. It shows that Christ is synopsis for the law and things of that nature. But what's your take on the mystery and then the Christ being in you?
Okay, it says, if I start at verse 25, it says, wherefore I am made a minister according to the dispensation of God, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of God. Even the mysteries which have been hid from all ages and from generations. He's talking about something that has not been known about Christ. That's been hid from all ages. Like this is when this will be revealed. This is revealed in his time. It said, but now it's made manifest to his saints, the people that lived during that time. Verse 27. To whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Verse 28. Whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Christ Jesus. Christ being in you, what Paul was talking about was something that was not revealed about Christ until his time. Christ was in them, and he was in them. They were showing Christ in them through their preaching. That's why he said, whom we preach. So they were preaching Christ, and by preaching Christ and living as Christ lived, that's what it meant when it said Christ was in you. But this was a mystery that had not been revealed until Paul's time. That's what that is saying.
Okay. I'm just gonna roll so we don't argue or nothing. I'll roll with that. All right, your turn.
Okay, let's go to Second Corinthians.
I'll say this real quick. Then I think it's deeper. It's a little bit deeper than that. Like when he says Christ in you. Yeah, I think I'll just say this. Like the goal that we all are striving for is we already can touch that goal. And that goal is Christ being within us or Christ being in us. And that is something, like I said earlier, that's something that's real. It's not something that's just like something that's on the page that say Christ is in you. That's something that I've actually experienced and that I experienced on numerous of times. So, I mean, I just want to point that out, that Christ in you is something that's real. It's not something that's just something that's just like a parable in a sense.
Okay. Now, let me say this, just in case a certain individual is still listening who acts like when I agree with you on something, he only heard you say it. I agree that is the goal. Blue. For Christ to be in us. Just in case you call in later on and be like, I heard that's all Bleedo trying to say is Christ supposed to be in you. Like he don't hear me say stuff. He don't hear me agree. But he want to act like, what I'm saying, only you said stuff. That's deceitful. I'm going to keep putting him out about that because he know what he's doing. But let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 3. This is what I want to get at because this is in the title of the class. I need you to first read verse 6, and then I'm going to break the rest of it down.
Okay, hold on. Let me get there. You said 1 Corinthians?
2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 6.
Oh, I got
it's like the first place you want to go. Okay.
I got you. All right, what do you want me to read?
Please? Verse 6.
What do you want me to read?
Excuse me?
I say, where do you want me to start?
Verse 6.
Oh, okay. Who also have made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kill, but the Spirit give life.
Now, what do you think that means when it says the letter killeth, but the Spirit gives life? What do you think that means when it says that? The letter killeth, but the Spirit gives life.
My take on this is that, the letter is, in a sense, the physical, looking at things literal and taking things literal in a sense in the text. The Spirit is understanding the wisdom and the power of God when you read the Bible and to understand these mysteries and these parables and how they pertain to the mind of mankind. So that Spirit gives you life, like Christ is the life of man. So if that Spirit is in you, and I can kind of go to a verse after. Can I go to a verse that kind of explain it, or you want me to just stay right?
In a moment, I'll let you do that. No problem.
Okay.
But what do you think it means when it said the letter killeth? What is the letter and what is it killing?
Like I say, the letter from the way I view it, the way I see it is the letter is just taking it literal. Like if you look at most people who take the law literal, the scriptures literal in a sense, they deal in fear, they deal in guilt, things of that nature. So when you deal in fear and you deal in guilt and you deal in those things, it kills you spiritually. Not necessarily like it kills you literally, but it kills you because it keeps you from tapping into the Christ that's within you.
I get that. I'm saying, when he says the letter is like some writing. What do you think you mean when you say the letter killer? Like what writing?
The letter. I mean, the word letter is just something that's like, let's say, like for example, we could just say, let's say, I'm trying to think of a law. Thou shalt not kill, for example.
Okay, so he's talking about. He said the letter killer. He's talking about the Old Testament. Is that what you're saying? You said the letter killer.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily just the Old Testament. No, the letter, like I said, the letter is something that's physical, something that's literal. That's something that keeps you from going inside of yourself. Like what Jesus told the lawyers. Woe to you lawyers! You keep those from entering into themselves or entering into the kingdom. So by them doing those things, they're killing you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily just the Old Testament, because you went to some scriptures and showed some verses.
It necessarily is the Old Testament. If you read verse 7, it says, but if the ministration of death written and engraven in stones was glorious, what time in Israel history did they have something written and engraven in stones? What was that referring to?
That's the old covenant, the covenant of the flesh.
I know, but the whole old covenant was not written in stone. We know that. What part of the old covenant was written in stone?
The 10, the covenant.
Okay.
Exodus 34:28 tell you that the 10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments. Okay, correct. Then it says, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses, for the glory of his countenance, which glory was to be done away with. What was it talking about right here when it says which glory was to be done away? Was they talking about the old covenant, or was it talking about the glory that shone off of Moses' face?
My understanding would be the old covenant in a sense, but at the same time, because Moses had that light, or he showed that he was shining like the light that Christ. Remember that I had what's the name read where it says Christ is the light and man can't comprehend it. So when Moses, shone, or when he was light, he had to put a veil over his face or whatever. He had to put, so because they couldn't comprehend that light at that particular time. Like I say, it's a metaphor even in that story. But I mean, for lack of words, we could say the old covenant because verse 6 talk about the New Testament, so we could just say that that's dealing with the Old Testament.
Okay, so what does it mean when it referred to the letter as the ministration of death? In verse 7, but if the ministration of death. That's what it refers to in verse 7 said. But if the ministration of death written on and engraven in stone, what does ministration of death mean?
That's dealing with the letter of the law in a sense. Because
if it's dealing with the literal, then how can verse 6 be a spiritual thing?
Let me explain why.
Verse 7.
Let me explain real quick for the ministration of death.
Okay.
Remember, we were talking about how you had the sacrifices and the law was a whole. That covenant, they had blood sprinkled over them and things of that nature, right? So that was dealing with death in a sense. That's why Hebrews 10 he say, the law having a shadow of great things to come. So there was death in that covenant in a sense, and even in the 10.
But they call the 10 Commandments the ministration of death. That ain't got nothing to do with sacrifices. Let me read it to you again. But if the ministration of death written and engraven in stone, the sacrificial law was never written and engraven in stone. You know that. So whatever law it's talking about right here,
it's a part of that covenant.
It's not a part of what Paul is talking about here.
Okay.
Hold on, let me finish. It says, but if the ministration of death written and engraven in stone, those are 2 stone tablets. The sacrificial law was not written on stone tablets. You can't just throw the sacrificial law and tack it on to the 2 stone tablets. The only thing on the 2 stone tablets was the 10 Commandments. So what Paul is talking about right here specifically is the 10 Commandments. That's why I was telling you, when y'all deal with the law, y'all don't ever specify or qualify what law is being talked about. This is talking about the 10 and the 10 only. That's all it's talking about right here. That's only unless you can show me in the Old Testament that other laws were written in stone. Can you show me that?
Okay, look. Exodus 34:28 say, and he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, and he did neither eat bread nor drink water, and he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. And it came to pass when Moses.
Bleedo, that's not what I asked you. Bleedo, don't do that.
That's what the verse
I asked you. I'm not talking about that. That's talking about the 10 Commandments. I asked you, can you show me? You talking about the verse, bro. Hold on, man.
Hold on.
Bleedo, listen. Listen to the question. Here's the question, Bleedo. No, I didn't ask you to do that just now. Bleedo, I said, can you show me? Because now you're being evasive. I asked you a plain question. I didn't ask you if the 10 Commandments. Let me finish. I didn't ask you if the 10 Commandments was the covenant. I didn't ask you if the 10 Commandments was part of a greater covenant. I asked you, let me finish. I asked you, can you show me in the law, other than the 10 Commandments, any laws that were written in stone? Yes or no? Either show me, you said about the sacrificial law and he wrote it in stone. Can you show me that?
No.
Okay, so right here, what Paul is talking about, whatever Paul is talking about right here, we know that it's talking about commandments that were written in stone. Don't throw anything at me unless you can show me it was written in stone. That's all I'm saying, because that's not what Paul is talking about right here.
But listen though, I'm finna show you the wisdom. I'm finna show you the hidden wisdom in that verse real quick. So you asked me about death, right?
Can we read the rest of the verse out though to get understanding on it?
Yeah, because I want to go to the actual story that when he put the veil on his face, because they
I
were
get that.
scared
That's
of the
in
light.
this verse. That's in this verse, because the point I'm trying to point out, you're saying the old covenant. Well, we'll just say for the sake of argument, the Ten Commandments at least. That's what was done away with. I'm telling you that's not saying that. What I'm telling you is what was taken away is, let me just reason to break it down to you. Look what it says. This is verse 8. House, it says, I'll read 7 again. But if the ministration of death, written and engraven in stones, the Ten Commandments, those are the only commandments written in stones, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance, which glory was done away. It's saying that the glory, the shining that came off of Moses' face, that's what was done away. It's not saying the Ten Commandments was, but let's finish reading.
No, that's
it
not
says,
what
how shall not, let me finish reading. You can't tell me it's not saying it, don't let me finish it.
Okay, go ahead.
It said, how shall not the ministration of the Spirit be rather glorious? Verse 9. For if the ministration of condemnation be glory, much more doth the ministration of righteousness exceed in glory. Let's see what the ministration of condemnation was and the ministration of righteousness, so we can know what was done away with. Verse 10. For even that which was made glorious had no glory in that respect by reason of the glory that excelleth, to my something that's coming later. For that which is done away was glorious, much more that which remaineth is glorious. You maintain the view that it's talking about the Ten Commandments. I'm going to show you it was talking about Moses compared to Jesus, not the commandments. Well, let me show you this. Verse 12. Seeing then that we have such hope, we use great plainness of speech, meaning we ain't speaking in parables here. Plainness of speech means I'm speaking directly. No parables, no allegory. So if you try to put an allegory interpretation on this, then you're going against what Paul just said. He said we use plainness of speech. Look what it says. And not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. When he said they could not steadfastly, whatever they was looking at steadfastly was abolished. Go back to verse 7. But the ministration of death, written on engraven stones, which was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses, for the glory of his countenance, which glory was done away. That's what it's talking about, because he just told you whatever the children of Israel was steadfastly looking at, that's what was taken away. And it's going to tell you what this veil symbolizes. That's why you got to read it all the way out. Verse 14.
Yeah.
I'm reading all the way to 18. You ain't got to worry about it.
Okay.
But their minds were blinded, for to this day there remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Christ. Did it say the Old Testament was done away, or the veil, which is a blindfold, that's done away? Which one done away with?
The veil.
Okay, so the veil is a blindfold, so you're reading the Old Testament with a blindfold on. If you were actually doing that, would you be able to understand the Old Testament if you're reading the book with a blindfold on?
Nope. I'm glad you're doing this. Nope.
Okay. But look what it says. Verse 15. But even unto this day, when Moses is read, come out the law, the veil is upon their hearts. He's not saying that he took away the law. He's removing a veil from over your eyes when you read the law, meaning you're going to have a better understanding of it. If you're telling people that he took away the law, it don't say that. He said he took away the veil that's over your eyes when you're reading the law.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Why did he put the mask over his face?
He said because his face was so bright. So we said the Old Testament.
Right. So that light, and I was going to read in the Exodus 34, that light was Christ. Okay. So he had to hide his face, because remember what we read in John 1, that the light, the darkness see the light and they couldn't comprehend it. So at this time, the children of Israel couldn't comprehend this light. That's why I'm telling you that the end, that he had to cover his face because they couldn't see the end. The end is Christ, as you agreed earlier that Christ is the goal. Okay? So when it's
that light was not Christ. There was just actual light shining off his face. That wasn't Christ. They were not talking about the same light that was talking about in 1 John. They're talking about a light that came from Moses' face. That's all that was talking about.
Okay, all right, cool. So finish, and I'm gonna show you what light that is. Go ahead. We good.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you what light that is.
It said, but even unto this day, when Moses read, a veil is upon their heart. Nevertheless, when it shall turn to the Lord, the veil shall be taken away. So when it says you're gonna turn to the Lord, that veil is gonna be taken away. What does that mean, Bleedo? What was the veil preventing you from doing?
The veil was keeping you from seeing. It was keeping you from seeing the light.
From seeing what? Not the light. No. And this it didn't say the light. It said, but even until this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart. I got you. So what was the veil preventing you from reading?
The Old Testament, from understanding it.
From understanding the Old Testament. So was the Old Testament taken away, or was the veil that was preventing you from understanding the Old Testament taken away?
The veil was taken away because now that light, which is Christ, shining. But I got you though. We're gonna let Jesus speak on this.
I get that. That's a different scenario. I understand how that ties into this, but this is not what we're talking about. What I'm asking you, and you answered correctly, was because you said at first what was taken away was the Old Testament. I just showed you, and you agreed that what was taken away was not the Old Testament, but a veil over your eyes. If I got the Old Testament in front of you right now, and you wearing a blindfold, and I plainly say, Bleedo, I'm about to remove this blindfold so you can read. Why would you think I'm taking the blindfold and the Bible away from you, the Old Testament? You wouldn't think that, because I plainly told you that's what I'm removing. I'm just removing the blindfold. I'm not taking the book. I'm just taking the blindfold. But you're interpreting this, even though Paul just plainly told you, and you see it, he's taking the blindfold from you. So all he's giving you to see is the understanding of the Old Testament. And that veil did not make you, when it removed, it did not make you stop or alter doing anything the way they were doing it. That's why when you get to the New Testament, you still see Jesus keeping the Sabbath just like everybody else. You see Paul keeping the Sabbath just like everybody else. You see them all physically doing these things.
But that's not a veil. Okay, so when you say, so I'm going to give you an example of what you're saying. A person can read the Old Testament and per se the Ten Commandments, because that was what was written on the stones. So a person can see, thou shalt not kill. That's not engraving. That's not a veil for them not to be able to read that and see that. They can see, thou shalt not commit adultery. Now, we know that modern Christians, in a sense, keep every law in the 10. And in a sense, I can't say every law because some on wear certain things, whatever. But we know they understand.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. For the most part.
I guess I don't like speaking for other people, but for the most part, we know they have an understanding. The only one that sticks out, in a sense, is the Sabbath, which they may keep Sunday and not understand that maybe Saturday is the Sabbath in a sense. So when you say that veil, so now let's say that veil is taken away. So the only thing that they can see now from the Ten Commandments or from the Old Testament is now the Sabbath is Saturday instead of Sunday. That's how that veil gonna do.
No, I'm not saying that. First of all, this verse ain't even talking about Christians today. He said, to this day, there remaineth a veil over. He's talking about the Jews in his day, Bleedo. He ain't talking about no Christians today or no Jews today. He's talking about the people in his day. So how are you taking that and trying to apply that to any Christians today anyway?
Well,
all I'm trying to show you is that the understanding of this verse is that not the law was taken away, but a metaphorical blindfold that is over your eyes when you read the law is taken away. And Paul was saying when Christ came, that's related to what you were saying about. That's why I took you here. This is how the mystery was revealed. The mystery of Christ. They took that blindfold away, and now you can see Christ in the in the Old Testament.
Okay, cool. Look, this is kind of what we kind of like different, and this is why it's kind of hard for us to kind of see eye to eye. So, like, for example, you said that Moses' whole face was lit up, right? That's what you said, right?
That's what it says. It said his face shone, which means shine, when he came down from the mount, and he put a veil over his face.
Okay, so do me a favor.
The children of Israel could not see the light. It was too bright for them. And Paul was using that as a metaphor to represent how when people read the Old Testament, they couldn't understand. They couldn't really look at it. The same way Moses had a veil over his face so they couldn't look at his face, the same way people symbolically had a veil over their eyes when they read the Old Testament. This is the metaphor that Paul is making. But you got lost in the metaphor, and you thinking he's saying he took away the law, when all he's saying is he took away the veil that people have over their eyes when they read the Old Testament.
I never said nothing about the law was taken away from. Remember, we talking about
actually, I asked you. I asked you what was taken away, and you said the law. You said that. That's on record. We can play this back. I asked you, and you said the law. You said, and anybody will call in to verify that.
Okay,
if you didn't mean it, just say you meant something else. That's cool.
No, I got
cool.
Yeah,
you didn't mean it that way.
You asked me what was the administration of that. Yeah, I remember I said that. Yeah, okay.
Right.
All right, look,
so
let's do this real quick before I got to get off of here real quick though. Let's look at Luke 11 and verse 34 real quick.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, can you read it?
Yes, sir. It says, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thine eye is single, thy whole body also is full of light. But when thine eye is evil, thy body also is full of darkness.
Okay, so when Jesus said that the light of the body is the eye, when thy eye be single, your whole body is full of light. Is a person's body full of light? Is it shining like Moses' face was shining? Or is this a metaphor?
No. This is a metaphor. That's not literal. No.
Okay, so why when we get to the New Testament, in a sense, everything is a metaphor, but when we deal with because I'll show
it's not a metaphor.
I'll show you why.
Paul used. I didn't say that. I said Paul used something that literally happened as a metaphor to illustrate how people are blindfolded when they read the Old Testament. He wasn't making the event a metaphor. He used something that literally happened as a metaphor. Like Bleedo, me and you on the phone right now. We're literally talking on the phone. But later on, I can use that as a metaphor to illustrate something else. But it don't take away from the fact that me and you actually spoke on the phone. That's what I'm saying. Y'all
right,
brothers,
but what I'm saying,
and this ain't no shot at y'all, but y'all don't really understand what a metaphor is and how it works. I'm saying that. Y'all be getting lost in the metaphor.
No, I know the metaphor. I'm a rapper, bro. I've been rapping since I was 16. I know what metaphor, similes. I know what all that is. Like I'm hip in all of that. Like I can break all that down to you.
So do you understand how somebody can make a metaphor out of something literal? Do you understand that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
I know everybody understands an actual metaphor. But okay, go ahead.
Listen what I'm saying. He said, "If thy eye be single," what does the single eye represent? What does that mean? If thy eye be single, what is that?
He said, "If thy eye be single," so the light of the body is the eye. This is how the light. This how everything starts with the eye. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thy eye is single, one eye, thy whole body is also full of light. But when thy eye is evil, thy body also is full of darkness. This is giving back to what the Old Testament calls having an evil eye. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I did a whole lesson called the evil eye. But it's talking about what you see and all sorts of what you see.
Right, what is
the
it?
The eye is what you use to see.
Right. Is it your mind? I'm just asking, like, what is it? Is it the mind? Is it in the head?
I just said it starts with the eye. That's what I'm telling you. It starts with the eye. Everything starts with what you see. That's why I talk about the lust of the eyes. He's talking about what you see and how you operate based on what you see will determine if your body going to be full of light or full of darkness. That's why he said in verse 35, take heed, therefore, that the light which is in thee be not darkness. If thy whole body, therefore, be full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of a candle does give thee light. He's just talking about you being completely righteous and letting your light shine, not a literal light like Moses did. He's speaking of parable here.
Okay, listen to what I'm saying. So
nobody literally lighten up.
Listen to what I'm saying. So you can understand that that's a parable, or you can see the symbolism in that. But then if we go to Moses, we can't see the symbolism in that.
I can see the symbolism in Moses. Hold up. I can see the symbolism in Moses' writing, but only if it's spelled out in the Bible. See, what you like to do, Bleedo, and this ain't no shot at you, I'm just telling you what you do. You go to the Bible and you form your own conclusions on what you think something represents. I don't do that. I tell you something represents something, and then I go in the Bible and show you how the people in the Bible use it as a metaphor. I don't come up with my own metaphors. That's what you do. That's why everything you read tonight, everything you read tonight that you said was symbolic, every time I ask you, where does it say that? Where does it say that? Where does it say that? You never showed it. You just tell us that. But whenever I showed somebody something that symbolized something, I went to the actual text. Just like I went to Paul, 2 Corinthians, and I showed where Paul was using what happened with Moses when he came down from the mount as a metaphor. That veil over his eye, over his face, was a metaphor for a symbolic veil that people in Paul's day had over their eyes whenever they read the Old Testament. But that veil was removed in Christ, meaning when you're in Christ, when you believe in Jesus, you listen to what he taught, now you no longer have that blindfold over your eyes that the people had back then when they were reading the Old Testament. Now you really, truly understand the Old Testament and the mysteries that it was getting at that would be revealed in Christ. But none of that, Bleedo, has anything to do with you deviating from how they actually physically kept the law. That's what we've been getting at all night. You are yet to prove that anybody physically deviated from the law. That's what that's the grand finale right there. That's what I need to see.
Let me say this, and then maybe we could do a part 2 or something, because I gotta go to work in the morning. I'm getting a little tired. Let me say this real quick though. Okay, so even in what you read, like, because you didn't really finish, and there I want to go look at the when Moses' face shone. It's what it said. Like, let's go there real quick before we close out.
All right, that's cool.
And by the way, we do got more callers. It's up to y'all if y'all want to take them.
I'll take 2 more, man, and I got to get up at like 6 in the morning, man.
I got you, man. It's up to you, brother.
Exodus 34. It starts at verse 29. You want me to read it?
I just want to just read one verse, man, so we can take the callers.
It's verse 29. That's where it starts at.
No, I don't want that verse.
When we talk about his face shining.
Yeah.
Or do you want me to read a couple of verses up?
Go to verse 30, just verse 30.
All right. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come nigh him.
Okay, so they was afraid to come nigh unto him. They was afraid because of this light. Okay, that's why I was trying to point out. Even in this, you can see Christ in this. Okay, so let me read one more verse, and then we can take the callers. Or if you want to make another point, you can, Josh, and then we can take the callers.
No, we'll take the call. We'll take the callers after that. Yeah. What else you want me to read?
I just want to hold on. I want you to go to let me see if I can find it, man. Getting a little tired here.
34? You don't want to read the part about the veil?
No, we can. If we do a part 2, if you down for a part 2, we can do a part 2, man. I'm cool with it.
Okay, where else you want me to go?
Let's go to 1 John 5 real quick in verse 9.
Okay, 1 John 5 and verse 9.
And then we're going to verse 5, 9 and 10, and then we'll take the couple
1 John
callers.
5, 9 and 10. Okay? If we receive the witness of men, the witness of God is greater. For this is the witness of God, which he hath testified of his Son. He that believeth on the Son of God have the witness in himself. He that believeth not God have made him a liar, because he believeth not the record that God gave of his Son.
Okay, so he says, he that believe on the Son of God have the witness in himself. So the witness of God, this is the point I've been trying to make all day, even with this law. This law in Christ and in the Spirit of God and all this are symbols. It's all synopsis for things that's within you. So this witness of God, the Son of God, is in himself, which is within you. This is the witness. The witness of men, if you receive the witness of man, the witness of God is greater. So we know the greater witness is within you because that's the witness of God. This is the point.
Okay.
This is the point I'm trying to make. So again, even with the laws, even with, like, for example, the Sabbath, and like I said, you can find that rest to where you can feel the rest, and you can actually obtain this right now, not something in the future, not waiting on the Sabbath rest to come after you done died and you believe you're gonna be resurrected and come back. No, this is something that God has on the earth right now. This is something that you can touch right now. This is the point I've been trying to make all day. Like, it's not something that just
I agree though.
fall off. It's something that's not.
I told you that.
Yeah, that's the only point. That's the only point. I'm not, like I told you, like I said earlier, Josh. I'm not telling nobody not to do. I'm not, like, I can see good in all things. I can see good in a person keeping the Sabbath. I can see good in it, like people teaching classes and things of that nature. I understand it. Like, if you take all those things away, then how will people commune and come together? You know what I mean? If you destroy something, then the way that things are, how will things operate? I understand that. So I'm not teaching against that. But what I'm saying is, once you obtain this Christ that's within you, you go to another level. And that's what I'm trying to tell the people, that there is another level that you could obtain now. There's not something that you have to wait on till when you die.
I believe all that, you know. All I ever said was that I just think that none of that has anything to do with nullifying the actual physical commandment. I agree with you that there's a rest in Christ. That's why Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are heavy laden, and I may give you rest." All I'm saying is that is not a substitute for the Sabbath. People make it a substitute for the Sabbath. If Jesus wanted to tell us that this rest that he's talking about, which he said was a rest for your soul, that means your mental, your spirit. He wasn't talking about a physical rest. The Sabbath is talking about a physical rest. If Jesus wanted to tell us that this is the new Sabbath, he would have plainly said that. People are reading that into his words. I don't need nobody to show me that Christ gave people rest for their souls. He's talking about giving people rest a lot of times, right? You can read in the Old Testament where it's talking about people resting in their mind. But they still knew that they didn't have anything to do with the deviating from the physical commandments.
So let me ask you this question. So if a person in the old covenant, like I don't know how you view it now. Let's just say, for example, a person don't keep the Sabbath day. What the judgment in the Old Testament was a curse. You'll be kicked out of the land. Yes.
No, it was
like
death.
to live.
It was death.
It was death because the man was still got. But that was in that land. I'm saying, like, now, let's say today, if a person doesn't. So when you say death, what do you mean? Like they're disconnected from Christ, or I mean they don't have the Spirit of God in them?
You asked me in the Old Covenant. In the Old Covenant, number one, you could not execute somebody for breaking any of God's laws unless Israel was in the land and they were their own ruling government. This is the reason why in the New Testament the Jews could not legally execute Jesus without the Romans' permission. It was against Roman law for anybody to execute somebody without getting the Romans' permission first. That's why they took Jesus through the motions. They could not legally stone Jesus for doing anything they felt he was doing wrong. They tried to, but they couldn't legally do that. That don't mean nobody didn't try to do it. But once they finally got their hands on him, they legally had Jesus executed. Over here in the land today, because we're not in the land, we can't carry out the judgment for breaking these things, but that doesn't mean it's okay to break these things. Just like in the land, the judgment for adultery was death. You know that, Bleedo, but you're not going to get on social media and tell people, because there's no death penalty being carried out for adultery, all of y'all go out and cheat on your wives. God don't care. You ain't going to tell nobody that. You still know that adultery is wrong, and adultery is in the Ten Commandments right next to the Bible.
But let me say this, though. It's still death in a sense, because when you separate it from God.
Death, it's spiritual death, yes. But I'm not talking about that. But I'm not talking about that, Bleedo. See, that's what you do. You know I'm talking about the physical, and then you impose. You don't compare. You impose. There's a difference. If me and you are talking about physical death and spiritual death, that's cool.
No, I got you.
But this is not what you do. When I'm talking about physical, you impose the spirit on it. And I know and when you do that, that confuses people. People thinking, well, what is Bleedo saying? Is Bleedo saying that adultery is okay now? Or whatever, you can only commit spiritual adultery? I don't want nobody to confuse your view, because we talked about this, and I know you don't think it's okay to physically commit adultery. You think that is wrong, you think God thinks it's wrong, and you think spiritual adultery is wrong. But what I'm saying is, when you ask me about the Old Covenant, you know I'm dealing mostly with the physical when you ask me about the Old Covenant. Under the New Covenant, if you commit adultery, the New Covenant says you will go to the lake of fire. All adulterers, all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire, which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. That is worse than a mere execution. We're talking about eternal damnation.
And that's something else too we can talk about too at another time. We can get into that too. But let's take the callers real quick, man, so I don't fall asleep on the phone.
Y'all gonna get started in a minute.
All right, we're gonna take like two more callers, and after that, I'm gonna let you get some last words. All right, so let's go to the callers. Two more, and actually we're gonna wrap up. Let's go to Skype caller. You're live. Somebody calling from Skype.
Shabbat shalom. Can y'all hear me?
Hey, what's going on, man? Anonymous Hebrew. What's up, bro?
What's up? Anonymous. Anonymous.
What's going on? What's going on, man? I'm gonna get it to you later, Sal. Peace, Bleedo. Peace, Josh. How y'all doing, man?
Peace, bro. Long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute, Bleedo. You know what I'm saying? We gotta chop it up, man. I've been busy.
I ain't seen you around. I ain't even seen you on YouTube like I used to see you on there.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to stay. You know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I see. I see.
I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I know when to hold him, know when to fold him.
Yeah, you and me both.
But yeah, man, no, it's a good dialogue. You know, it's a good build. I just, you know, we done chopped it up in private before, so ain't gonna be no animosity. I want to understand, I guess, for me, before I ask any questions, how, like, when you view like the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, right? Just briefly, how do you sum up, I guess, the difference of it? Like, how do you sum up how they interact? Do they interact? Is there any interaction between the spirit versus the letter? Meaning, like,
it's a good question.
For me,
that's a good question. See, and you know we spoke on this before. You know we had conversations about this before.
Right.
See, when I go literal and metaphysical, or literal and spiritual. You know what I mean? And to me, from my view and the way I see things, I believe the literal is the literal in the sense is the first element of understanding, but then the spiritual is beyond that literal understanding. You get what I'm saying? So when you look at the letter of the law, for example, since we've been talking about the Sabbath, you know, for a while, that's kind of like a ritual in a way. Like you have a ritual mindset to say, okay, on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day a person keeps the Sabbath, I'm not gonna go outside. I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying, buy, sell, whatever person is. You know, everybody kind of do things differently. Well, I'm not gonna buy, sell, or whatever. In that sense, you know, the way I view that is like I've done that, you know what I mean, on the literal side. And when I've done that, not saying that, okay, I'm going to disobey God because I got nothing out of it, but it did nothing for me in the sense of my inner man. Like it didn't sit well with my spirit in a sense. It was just like, why am I doing this? You know, why am I just sitting here? So when I look at the spirit of the law, it's like it's actual doing, like how Josh kind of pointed out when he said you do it. Well, when you do when you understand the spirit, it's like, okay, I'm meditating in the sense. Let's say I had a long day arguing, debating, or whatever it may be, and I'm like, man, I need to rest my mind because I got these thoughts in my mind. Let me go to God in a sense. So then I began to, you know, basically close my eyes or whatever, and I began to meditate. I began to forget all things, all the thoughts or whatever that I had in my head, and I just began to, you know, listen to God. You know what I mean? And then that's me resting and my mind resting and allowing the spirit to guide me, and that's something physical. So then when I'm done meditating in a sense, man, I'm good now. Like, okay, I got my mind right. I just commune with God. You know what I mean? I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I've rested my mind from all of the stress of the world, the cares of the world, and all of that, and I just, you know, basically dealt with God. So that's how I view it. Like, I'm not saying nothing wrong with, you know what I'm saying, a person sitting in the house or whatever and the things of that nature. But that for me, you know, that didn't work for me. You know what I mean? And again, I'm never telling nobody to follow me, but I just think it's deeper. You know, it's just a deeper level. And once a person could obtain that, then they'll understand what I'm saying. It's like it's more so of an experience of God versus a belief in God.
Right. So for instance, does the letter of the law tell us that we got to sit in the house on the Shabbat?
I don't think I ever read that. No.
Right.
I don't think you got to sit in the house. No. I think the letters say what? Josh read it in Leviticus 23. Have a holy convocation, and basically
right.
do
so
no work.
Basically, when we deal, right, we're talking about do no work, have nobody do no work for you, and have a holy convocation, right?
Uh-huh.
So I remember, like, when I first came into this walk, people would tell me, like, oh, you can't take your kids to the park on the Shabbat, and all type of crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, that's nuts. I mean, why wouldn't I want to use the Shabbat as a time to get closer with my family, as well as have a holy convocation,
right.
keep the Shabbat, don't have nobody working, things like that. So, so the point I guess I would make first is we got to be careful not to impose what other people are saying we should do with the law in comparison to what the law says, because this is what Paul and what Jesus and all the apostles and disciples was actually fighting against, right? They was really fighting against the people that was trying to take the law and make it into some weird, like, okay, you got to wash your hands a certain way this many times and all type of other crazy stuff that we're dealing with once we get into the Talmud and all of that stuff, right? So that's the first point.
Right.
The second point I would say is, as we move into, because I think Josh was bringing it out, I don't know if y'all really got into it deep enough, but when we start dealing with the letter of the law being dead, does that mean it's okay for us to commit adultery, in your opinion?
No, well, like I told Josh before, and it all depends. See, this the thing with the letter of the law, too, and I'm going to put this out there like this, too. So, like, kind of like what you said about the Sabbath, right? So, and then I'll touch on adultery also. But, like for example, what you said about the Sabbath, right? So, let's just say, for example, a person go to a church or a camp or whatever, and this camp tell them that they can't take their kids to the park, right? So one camp tell you one thing, and then another camp will tell you another thing. So now this is kind of why I read that First John about the witness of God being greater than man, because man is always telling you what you can and cannot do on these days, not necessarily God. So I agree with you when you say, hey, it ain't about adding to this and all these things was added, but that's not the world we live in now. That's not how things work, because everybody teaches it a certain way. Like, you may teach the Sabbath different than Josh, or you may not. Josh may teach the Sabbath different than somebody else that may call in that keep the Sabbath. So now this is where the confusion come in at, and this is where the letter of killers, in a sense, to me come in there, because now it's like I don't know who to listen to. I'm wrestling with which one of these guys is right, and this is why Jesus said, "Woe unto you lawyers, you hinder them from entering into themselves." So now instead of me listening to this brother and that brother, I can enter into myself and just allow God to lead me. You know what I mean? And I don't have to worry about the outside view of what I do is. Like, that's me worrying about outward.
Okay. Right. So I hear you. So all right, so I just wanted to get that clear.
And then with adultery, it's like people got different meanings with that. For example, somebody would say cheating on your wife, right? Or, it's committing adultery. But then we can clearly see that there was no law how many wives a man could have, because we see that men in the Bible had more than one wife. So what if a person say, okay, I got 2 wives, I got 3 wives, I got 4 wives, or whatever it may be? You know what I mean? Like, who am I to say, hey, brother, you committing adultery? Like, I can't say that to them.
But Bleedo,
let me get it, Josh. Hold up, Josh. Let me get it.
The Bible don't define the adultery anyway, though. I'm just letting you know. Let me get it, Josh.
Let me get it. So that's the point I was going to make, right? And this is the point that Stanley was making when he called in earlier, right? The spirit of the law enhances what you learn from the letter of the law, right? So now let me get deep into this. So as I move into the spirit, right? So I think y'all went to 1 Corinthians 3, right? Or was it 2 Corinthians 3, right?
Yeah.
2 Corinthians 3 lines up with like 1 Corinthians 15, I want to say 15:45, where it talks about Christ being a quickening spirit. You see what I'm saying? So once we move into being quickened in the spirit, the reason that the law dies is not because the law becomes null and void. It's because we move into this process of what we know to be sanctification, or this ability to become more and more holy or set apart. And as you become more and more set apart, I don't argue with the law anymore because I've transcended, meaning adultery is no longer a problem because I've removed lust from my heart. So now you don't have to tell me not to commit adultery Not because committing adultery is no longer wrong, but because I'm not committing adultery, right? Meaning I'm going to keep the Shabbat.
It's no longer in your mind in the sense. It's like you, like I say, you have the power of Christ now. So now that lust or that desire, you can control it. And it's not you that's controlling it, as Paul said. It's not I, but the Lord. So the power of God is what took that out of you. So yeah, that's
right. So that's the point. That's the point we got to understand. And me being transcended or being made spiritually whole now, being quickened by Christ, does not nullify the law. It just makes the law dead because I'm no longer. Number one, I'm no longer under those penalties, right? Because now I've moved into living in the body of Christ. But number two, I'm not going to commit those things. I'm not going to commit those sins because I know that they're wrong now. Like Paul, another thing that people kind of ignore is Paul says, if it wasn't for the law, I wouldn't know what sin was. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So if it wasn't for me learning these things, I wouldn't know how to properly live, how to properly walk this out. So we have to be careful to not to try to do away with the Shabbat, not to try to say, like, I'm all for you meditating. If that's what you do to get closer to God, please, by all means, meditate. But do it on the day that he prescribed us to. And the reason being is because by doing that, we're showing obedience and love for the Most High. Right? And that's where the problem comes in with all of these various teachers, and that because at the end of the day, our whole goal has to be showing love for the Most High. And the only way we can show love for the Most High is reading what he left for us through inspiration of man. Right? I can say I talked to God and I did this and I did all that, but if it doesn't line up with the inspiration that he left to us through his chosen vessels that he used in the past, we've gone astray.
Exactly.
Right? We've gone astray. I'll let you get it. I'll let you get it. You know, I set up real quick.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm gonna set up. But I just wanted to point that out. If we go off the path and just start kind of getting to our own deal, we miss what the patriarchs left for us. Right? If you're dealing with what Abraham or Moses, like, these people have real experiences, and they're giving us what they were given from the Most High. So if we get away from that, we lose. We fail. Right? And so I'll let you get it after that.
Let me say this real quick, though. Okay, so if they left, let's just say, for example, they left Christ. And Christ, the teaching of Christ, or whatever, however you may view it, and you pick up the teaching of Christ, you know what I'm saying, in the spirit sense, then is that not ascending? I ain't gonna say above. I don't like to use words like above and all that, but is that not saying that if Christ can speak to them, or if God can speak to them, that God cannot speak to you as well? Is that not saying that?
I kind of don't understand it. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you like I've seen God face to face and nothing like that. I can't say that.
Yeah, no, I ain't saying it in that. Let's just say, for example, Abraham, and we'll just use Abraham and Moses, for example, right? So Abraham, we know he didn't. I ain't gonna say he didn't keep the Sabbath because I don't know. Like I said, I don't like to speak for people beyond that. But he had a time period where he lived in, and they say that he kept all God's commandments and things of that nature, right?
Uh-huh.
We can't read where he kept. We can't read where he kept the Sabbath. We could assume that he did. We could say that he did. We could say that we don't know if he did, right? But he actually was one with God in a sense, like what Jesus was saying. I'm one with God, right? Then Moses, on a larger scale, began to deal with nation building in a sense. So the Spirit of God, the same Spirit that dealt with Abraham, dealt with Moses. You know what I'm saying? But now Moses is dealing with a nation, and let me show you how to build this nation. But it's the same Spirit, which I believe is Christ. You know what I mean? It's not. And then why can't today's time, or why is it different in today's time that we can't obtain that Spirit, or we don't have that Spirit when we read in the New Testament that Spirit is within us, or that Spirit dwells within us? Why can't we have that today?
Who said we don't have it?
Well, any in my opinion, Matt, like if we deny, I'm not saying you saying it, y'all saying it. No, I'm just speaking out in general because I don't think neither one of y'all in a sense deny it. But a lot of people we will put everything above that Spirit. Like, I'm not saying the Bible, but let's just use the Bible for example. The Bible could be used to be above the Spirit. You get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I know other people do that.
So you can look at brothers like, I ain't gonna you say no names, but a lot of people put the Bible down. You know what I'm saying? For certain reasons, and it's only because they started to see the Christ, but because everybody was like going at them and slandering them and saying that they this and they that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you or Josh. I'm just speaking hypothetically. Now they don't want no part. Yeah, they don't want no parts of. They don't want no parts of it now because they see things different, or maybe God's showing them something to where they see something different, and we just may not understand it at the time. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I'm gonna go back to my point. Let me chime in a little bit on that. Well, Anonymous is getting that though. You keep saying about the spirit being in people, but what I'm trying to figure out is why is it that you sticking out like a sore thumb from everybody before you? Because everybody before you, Bleedo, they did something a certain way, and they all did the same way. Once Moses came on the scene, right, once the law came into the world, from that point on, all of Israel, except for the apostates, they all did everything the same way. Even after Christ came, Paul, as you yourself will have to admit, continued to keep the Sabbath, continued to keep Pentecost, kept all these days. I've been saying this all night. What you're telling people, Bleedo, is that God speaks to you, and what he's giving Bleedo is different from what we've seen everybody else read in the Bible, yet we still should consider Bleedo. Bleedo is sticking out. I mean, that is essentially what you're saying because you're not only here for your health. You're sharing for a reason. We all do this for a reason. You're sharing for a reason.
What I'm saying is, I don't want you to put that out there. I can't accept that.
If you got the same spirit,
I made that clear, Josh. I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, Bleedo. I said you're sharing for a reason. That's all I said. You're sharing for a reason. I'm saying if you got the same spirit that Paul, Jesus, Peter, Moses, Nehemiah, Jeremiah, why are you doing something different than them? That's the question I need you to answer for me. Why are you doing things differently from them?
When you say I'm doing something different for them, like pretty much the only thing that you can.
Did they physically keep the Sabbath? Let me explain. Did they physically keep the Sabbath?
That's the only. Listen though, that's the only thing that you can point at, and the reason.
I'm running other stuff down. No, I'm just starting with that. Did they physically keep the Sabbath? Yes or no?
Wait
a minute. We got to iron this out. Did they physically keep the Sabbath?
No, I got you. I'm gonna answer. I got it. Yeah, listen. I got a way of answering questions. I just don't, let me answer the question. Okay, we know Jesus. What it said as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, right?
So as your custom, do you go in? I just need a yes or no.
No. Do you go in the synagogue on the Sabbath? Yes or no?
I'm asking you, did they keep the Sabbath? That's all I'm asking. Yes or no?
I mean, we can both.
You're not answering the question. You're trying to answer a question with a question.
I'm saying
that's rude. That's
Jesus went in the synagogue.
That's disrespectful. I'm asking you a question. Either just say you don't want to answer it or answer it. But don't answer the question with a question, bro.
Okay. I'm
asking you, did they keep the Sabbath? Did they keep the Sabbath? Yes or no?
I'll answer your question the way you want me to answer your question, but then I want to make it.
I just want to. It's a yes or no. It's not how I want you to answer it. If I'm asking you a yes or no question, you either say yes, you say no,
it's a custom.
Or you don't answer it.
Now listen, what I'm saying. It was a custom.
Bleedo, you're still giving me a question. Bleedo,
I'm not.
You're still asking me a question. I'm asking you, did they keep the Sabbath? Yes or no?
In Jerusalem, it was a custom to keep the Sabbath day. So yes, they kept the Sabbath day.
So is that a yes or no? Is that a yes or no? I'm not hearing a yes or no.
I just answered it, bro. I just answered it. It was a custom.
Bleedo, you're defiant. Bleedo, I'm asking Bleedo, did they keep the Sabbath? Yes or no?
In Jerusalem, it was
all I want to know.
I just answered it. In Jerusalem, it was a custom to keep the Sabbath.
But you're not saying yes or no.
So you saying yes?
I just said yes.
No. Listen. Okay. Yes. So I heard him.
I said that 3 times. I said it 3 times.
No, you kept on. Okay. But I just said I only need a yes or no. I don't need you to elaborate. I just wanted a yes or no. That's all I asked for.
I don't do yes or no because then that's somebody dictating how I talk or how I answer.
No, ain't nobody dictating. If I ask you, are you Bleedo Shumake? If I ask you, are you Bleedo Shumake? You ain't gonna give me your life story. If the police pull you over right now and ask you to pull out your driver's license, and they ask you, are you Bleedo Shumake? You ain't going to give them your life story. You going to say yes or you going to say no. You ain't going to go into all that. So I don't need all of that. I just want a yes or no. And you gave me a yes. You made a long-winded way about doing it. So, okay, you said yes. Cool. They kept the Sabbath. Cool. Do you keep the Sabbath as they kept it? And the synagogue, before you answer that question, the synagogue was not a mandatory part of the Sabbath. That's just what they used, but that wasn't a mandatory part of it. We don't have to go in those synagogues. The law tells you how to keep the Sabbath. The synagogue was just something. Let me finish. Bleedo, no, I'm not making anything different. I'm telling you the purpose of the synagogue, like if Bleedo kept the Sabbath, if Bleedo wanted to keep it at his house or at my house or in another building where everybody got together, that's cool. But that's not one of the requirements of the Sabbath. I'm asking you the requirement part of it, which was not the synagogue. Did they all keep the Sabbath? Yes or no?
Yes.
Do you keep the Sabbath the way they kept it? The required part. Do you do that?
I'm not in.
So your spirit, so whatever spirit is in you is different from them. You're not doing the same thing they did.
That's not true.
If you're doing something different, you're not on one accord.
15 minutes left, fellas. 15 minutes left in the air. I know it's 15 minutes left in the air, though. Okay.
And let me say this real quick.
Hold on. Let me show you why that's not. Let me show you why that's not true.
I just want to let y'all close out.
All right, hold on. Do you have any record of Adam keeping the Sabbath day?
I ain't talking about Adam. I said ever since the law came into the world. I ain't talking about. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about.
You just told me I don't want your life
I'm not
story.
talking about. I don't care anything. I don't. No, but I'm not making that claim though, Bleedo. But I'm not making that claim. You're asking me a yes or no about something. A claim I'm not making.
But listen though.
But I'm not making that claim.
But listen what I'm saying. But when you trace Jesus down in his lineage, you're gonna go all the way to Adam. Okay. So if Adam is the first one who dealt with this spirit, that God, the spirit of God, and he didn't keep the Sabbath day like Jesus kept the Sabbath day.
That ain't got nothing to do with that. That ain't got nothing to do with that.
We got a lot more because
that ain't got nothing to do with that. No. My point is,
all right, fellas, hold on. They will let Anonymous people say his piece. Let Anonymous people say his piece, and then we're gonna let y'all finish up. Yeah, Anonymous, say his piece. Good.
Hey, yeah. I hear what you're saying about the Adam thing. I mean, I could go deep into that. I will tell you that Christ is not going to contradict any of that. Right, at the end of the day, that's just not how it works. So, at the end of the day, this is my point: is that the Spirit will never contradict the Bible. Right. So, us trying to use this to try to find a contradiction or to say or to use it to go against it, it can't. Right. So when we find contradictions or perceived contradictions, number one, we have to check ourselves and do some deeper study. Number two, and I think this will be most important, is the metaphysical or the spirit has to line up with the physical. Meaning, if I was a murderer and then I come into this walk, I should not be a murderer anymore if I've really tasted of how the spirit works. If I was an adulterer and I come into this walk, I shouldn't be that person anymore. If I was a blasphemer or a liar or a coveter, however it works, I shouldn't be that anymore. And that will line up with the law. Right? So as we grow and progress in this sanctification, we should look more like the prescription that was given to Moses. That's just how it works. We should look more like what it says we should be doing. Right? Not just the 10, not just the Decalogue, but even in our daily walk. Meaning, if I'm a farmer, then even though I'm not prescribed to by the land of the law, I should be observing the land rest days and how to give the land its sabbatical and things of that nature. If I'm a woman, I should adhere to the laws of adultery or the laws of how I carry myself. If I'm whatever it is, if I'm like I deal with finance and I deal with real estate and things like that, right? So if I'm dealing with another Israelite, I'm not going to impose, or if I deal with another believer, period, I'm not going to impose, what's it called? I'm just going to call it interest, but whatever it's called in the Bible, it'll lose my mind right now. But I'm not going to impose that, right? And that's what it means by really coming in under this banner, is because we should be growing and adhering to this. And the reason, honestly, is because there are deeper meanings to it, right? There's a deeper meaning as to why I shouldn't covet my brother's wife. There's a deeper meaning as to why I shouldn't lie. There's a deeper meaning as to why, if someone is a slave, or if they're, I should try my best to get them out of slavery, especially if they're believers. So as we go into that, as we grow deeper into this, we have to take all these things into an account and kind of stay away from trying to impose our own desires, whether they be good or bad. We all got things that we want, that we need, but at the end of the day, we should line up and look more like Christ, and Christ kept the law. At the end of the day, Christ kept the law. And if we want to live and be more like Christ, we should keep the law out of love for the Most High and move deeper into it. And that's what we see in the text, as we see in the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament. At the end of the day, we should want to be more like Christ, because it leads us more to getting closer to the Most High and keeping that law. Not out of a need for legalism, but out of love, out of a desire to want to be closer with our Creator. So I think y'all had a great dialogue. Love both y'all brothers, man. And, Shabbat Shalom to the family.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
All right, family, it's only 10 minutes left in the air, guys. Once again, I appreciate everybody out there that's checking out the program, or the host of the show, the special guest that's been in the platform for Season 9 of Debate Talk Free Radio. Remember, Season 10 is going to come. We're going to be on the air Monday, September 23rd. Season 10, Monday, September 23rd. Mark it on your calendar. Summer special, July 22nd. 2-week summer special. Mark it on your calendar. I'm going to give each person 4 minutes left, 4 minutes each for their final words. All right, Bleedo, go ahead, 4 minutes.
All right, cool. Appreciate the dialogue. I kind of enjoyed myself with the conversation. I think we need more dialogues and conversations like this. Appreciate it, Josh. I think we've grown as brothers in a sense, or as friends in a sense. We didn't get in our flesh and argue or none of that. And I hope the people, like I say, I'm not trying to tell nobody what to do, in the sense of if you feel like you're supposed to keep the law, and you continue to keep it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people grow. Like the Bible says, narrow is the way that leads to life, in a sense. So there's some people who can touch this and understand that this Christ that's within you is something that's real. It's not something that's just written on pages, but actually is something that you can actually feel. You know what I mean? And I just want to share that with the Debate Talk for You audience. And, just let you know, man, if you go within yourself and you find that Christ, you would deny yourself, like, your flesh, in a sense, and you'll begin to walk in the Spirit. And walking in the Spirit is way more than just what's in the Bible. I'm just going to be, put it all the way out there like that. You understand life from the polarities, dualities, and things of that nature on a whole nother realm. And that's the wisdom of God. That's the power of the Christ that's within you that will lead you on this journey and this experience that's called life. You know what I mean? So in no shape or form, I would like to come back on here again, maybe have another dialogue with Josh, or anybody else that's open to have a basically open conversation, man. And hopefully, no pride or whatever as far as he beat you and you beat him, and I don't care about none of that, man. Because at the end of the day, it's about Christ, it's about God. So regardless of who you like the most or who you feel made the better argument, in a sense, none of that matters, because at the end of the day, the power of God is real, and that's all that matters. So I want to say peace to Sal. Appreciate you bringing me back on here. It's been a little minute, so I probably was a little rusty with talking and everything, but I appreciate the opportunity. And like I say, peace to Josh, peace to Absolute Bible too, and peace to everybody that listened in.
All right, Bleedo, we definitely going to bring you back on, man. All right, you family, brother. We're going to bring you back on. All right. We're going to go to Josh. Remember, guys, mark it on your calendar, Monday, September 23rd, Season 10. Debate Talk for You. And for the YouTube family, I will keep the content going. Some of the old shows that you haven't heard, I'll be posting those up through the summer. So keep subscribed to the program. All right, Josh, 4 minutes, Scott.
Oh, yeah, I just want to say, man, appreciate you, Bleedo, for reaching out to me with this dialogue. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, but more than anything else, I just feel blessed that I've been able to sit down and have a dialogue with a brother who I was literally at odds with for almost 10 years. Y'all, that's how far back it goes. But, I can definitely see that Bleedo is not the same Bleedo I met, and he probably feel like I'm not the same guy he met. I mean, this is one of the best dialogues I've had. I really did enjoy myself. I really was just curious just to see what Bleedo had to say. He put a lot of interesting stuff out there and a lot of different perspectives out there, He probably was surprised that I already had agreed with a lot of stuff that he said, you know what I'm saying? Like the spiritual part of it. And as I always tell y'all, that the most important part, if you ain't got the spiritual part down, you're really wasting your time doing anything else in the physical. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate him at least emphasizing that point. I feel like I don't feel no malice from the brother. I feel like he was very respectful. You know what I'm saying? We both got a little energetic, but it wasn't no negativity. You know what I'm saying? It was just a positive build. So I hope he does come back and have a future dialogue with me or somebody else, because it was just a breath of fresh air just to hear the brother just come out the way he came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's definitely grown a lot in the spirit. I'm not judging him or trying to son him or nothing. I'm just talking about my own personal perspective. I can definitely see a different Bleedo, who don't care about the petty stuff anymore, like you said, like the pride or who he thinks won or who did the best, you know what I'm saying? So I can definitely appreciate that. So, again, it was a beautiful build. I think a lot of people are going to remember this one. This was the finale, so, I hope y'all feel like it lived up to the hype of a finale. Bleedo, you got my number, man. You can reach out to me at any time, like I told you. You know what I'm saying? So if there's nothing else, at least go to sleep now. You know what I'm saying? You'll be resting then. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully we'll have another build in the near future. But with that, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Appreciate y'all taking time to come out and listen to this whole dialogue. And that's it.